Explain dinosaurs. They're in Job 40, my bro. If you go to Job 40, that's why I have a dinosaur here in the background on my picture. If you see, go to Job 40. It says, "Behold now, Behemoth. He eateth the grass as an ox. He is the chief of the ways of God. His bones are like strong pieces of brass. His bones are like iron." But the important part there says he can drink up a river. But the important part there, it says he sways his tail as a cedar. So God is literally describing this animal's tail as being as big as a cedar tree. So the only animal that would fit is a sauropod dinosaur.
I think those are reptilians.
You think what is reptilians?
The picture, your picture, and
Okay, yeah. Somebody asked me about dinosaurs, so I was explaining that really quickly about Job 40. That's what I was explaining there.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, you good, man? What you got?
What do you think about the giants? I'm interested about that.
Oh, okay. Good topic. I think that they're not offspring of fallen angels. The Bible doesn't say that at all. The Nephilim were here before and after the sons of God.
What were the Nephilim?
The Bible doesn't say.
What do you think they were?
I have no idea. The Bible legitimately just it doesn't. It's only mentioned twice, once in Genesis and once in Numbers. The time that it's mentioned in Numbers is actually referring back to the one in Genesis. So there really is no way for me to draw any conclusion off of a verse that's only mentioned really one time in the Bible that without context. So
do you know what off the top of your head, you know what the actual verse was?
Yeah, it's Genesis 6:4, if I'm not mistaken, is when it's mentioned.
Do you know what it says?
Sure. I'll go there for you real quick. Let's see it. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God come into the daughters of men, and they bear children unto them. The same became mighty men of old, which were men of renown. So the word giant there is Nephilim, and the only other time it's used is in Numbers.
And what do they say in Numbers?
They say that there's the children of Israel are getting ready to go into the land of Canaan. So they send spies into the land of Canaan, and spies come back. Joseph come back with a good report. He said that we can go in and take the land, and here's the fruit of the land, and we can take it. We're strong enough. And then the other spies come back with a bad report. It says, no, we are grasshoppers in our own sight. We were grasshoppers in their sight, and they are Nephilim in the land. They're strong cities and a strong people. So we know that this is not figurative language. It's semantic language, because they say that we were grasshoppers in our own sight first. So it can't be figurative language if they said that they were grasshoppers in their own sight, right?
Yeah.
So that's literally just referring back to the Nephilim of Genesis.
Right. So yeah. The Genesis one is really the only one that we can speculate on.
Yeah.
What that means.
Yeah. And to the individual in the comments that's saying Goliath, Goliath is referred to as a giant, but he is not referred to as a Nephilim. So
it sounds like there was another race here before. It sounds like.
Well, it could have been just it could have been an isolated group of individuals that just got really, really tall. Like, we've seen there's certain African tribes that get really, really tall.
Yeah. What do you think Goliath was an actual giant though?
Nah, the Bible gives his the how tall he was. It gives it in what's the cubits, which is from the tip of your elbow to the tip of your finger. That's how they measured a cubit. So there's, there's a margin of error there, but it's not going to be off by feet, right? So Goliath was anywhere from about 9 to 10 foot tall, or 8 to 10 foot tall.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's big, but it's not outside the realm of possibility.
I mean, let me look up what the tallest current human is. Tallest current human is 8 feet. Definitely not 10 feet. And most people that are that tall have really debilitating health issues.
Yeah, they usually have a tumor on their pituitary gland, but there's people that's literally that's almost that tall that if you were to mate them together, like say for example, if you took the biggest NBA female basketball stars, the WNBA, and you only allowed them to reproduce with the tallest NBA stars, and you put them in their own tribe area. Matter of fact, it's one of the basketball stars. I can't remember. I think it's a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, maybe, or one of those individuals that come from Africa. They made a movie about him back in the 80s or 90s, I think it was. That they would go to these African tribes and look for these individuals. That this specific tribe had these individuals that were really tall, and because they were just within their tribe, that trait of being really tall was promoted, if you will. It got yeah. So you got really, really tall individuals, and they didn't really have debilitating health problems. The ones that have debilitating health problems are usually the ones that have a tumor on their pituitary gland, like Andre the Giant or something like that.
Yeah, but I guess my point is that, I mean, Goliath was considered to be, a pretty athletic, fierce dude, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting to have like a 10-foot. And wasn't he very muscular too? They describe him as like a.
It just describes him as a warrior.
Yeah. I guess all the pictures I see of him, he's like this big hulking.
I'm sure he was pretty intimidating. I'm obviously come out and said that nobody wanted to challenge him for a one-on-one. So, I mean, I would imagine that he was pretty intimidating.
Yeah. I was wondering if there was a previous race of giants.
Well, like I said, I would say tribe, because you can, like I said, you can isolate individuals to certain areas. And if that trait got encouraged, then you could get, really large people. But I don't know if I would call it a race.
Life on other planets? Do you believe in life outside of Earth?
No, not necessarily. I would need to see some evidence for that.
So you think that this is it? Earth is just, we're the only living people or species or whatever on the entire universe?
Yeah, that's what I think. I don't think there's any evidence for anything else. So,
I guess that's where we disagree, because I believe there's got to be other life forms out there.
Why does there got to be?
Hello.
Why does there have to be?
What's your problem with this bloody evolution?
Say it again, brother.
What's your problem with evolution?
It's quite the accent.
I believe in micro, but I don't believe in macro. So I don't see any evidence for it. That's my quote unquote problem, I guess you could say.
The only reason you believe in micro is because that describes your penis.
All right, man. Thanks for the conversation.
Oh, man.
That's funny.
That is hilarious. All right, so why would there have to be life outside of our universe?
Well, I mean, the universe is kind of infinite.
Well, I shouldn't have said universe. Outside of our galaxy.
Yeah. Kind of infinite. I think it's way more likely than not, right?
Well, I mean, I think you're making some claims there that there's just no way we can prove. You said the universe is infinite. There's no way you could know that. You just because we can see out really far doesn't mean that this keeps on going forever.
Let me look it
Look
up.
it up. How could you possibly believe anybody that said it was infinite? I'm not saying that it couldn't be, but
is roughly 93 billion light years, 28.5 gigapart. 2 trillion galaxies. 2 trillion galaxies.
Right. So then that means it's not infinite, right?
I mean, I guess we wouldn't even know.
That's my point. That was my point. Yeah. You're the thing is saying, well, there has to be life out there because the universe is infinite. It's a bad assumption because you're assuming that it's infinite when you don't know that.
That's true.
The space is infinite, but there's not infinite matter.
You don't know that either. I mean, it's fair to say that. All right. Well, hold on. Let me ask you what you. Wait a minute. Let me ask you what you believe. So you know that and he left. All right.
I
So,
believe in theistic evolution.
right. I got you. And theistic evolution usually teaches that you have time, space, and matter coming into existence at the same time with the Big Bang. So you had the Big Bang created time, matter, and space. So you can't say space is infinite if it was created.
Space is infinite.
Was
Space is
it-
like a weird thing?
Was it
There's
created?
infinite space between everything.
That doesn't make
No,
any
space
sense.
wasn't created.
Okay. Well, okay. Then
Well,
you,
it is,
it
dude.
depends.
So, like,
Brother, pause. I got to figure out what you believe first, because like I said, we can't just keep moving on and not making any sense. Right. Okay. So if you believe in evolution, then most people say the Big Bang, where the Big Bang created, either you can say that matter was infinite or whatever, but they said that literally space expanded, meaning there was no space before, there was nothing. And then the Big Bang, space expanded out. So is that your viewpoint? Because if that's your viewpoint, then you literally can't believe space is infinite.
Can you hold on? I'm messing up with my AirPods. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, brother.
Oops. Can you repeat like the last 5 seconds? My bad.
Yeah, no problem. So the theory of the evolution, and you can have, like I said, you're free to go from it, but this is why I need to understand what you're saying. So the theory of evolution has two ways of thinking. Either time, space, and matter is infinite in their existence, but not, they come together and compact really lightly, really tightly, and then it expanded. Or you believe that there was nothing that exploded, and the first cause uncaused that caused nothing to explode, and that created time, space, and matter. But on either,
I believe God made the Big Bang.
okay, either one of
Do you
those,
believe time is infinite?
on either one of those, you cannot believe that space is infinite, because if space expanded, then it has an end to it. Okay.
Not necessarily.
Okay. Then explain to me, please.
Do you think time is infinite? First off,
Do I think? No. I think it had a beginning.
do you think it has an end?
Yes.
That's crazy.
I think it's going to have an end.
How
I think that there is a different realm outside of time, space, and matter. And I think that God created
In black
time.
holes, gravity can be infinite, by the way.
Okay. Well, hold on. Wait a minute.
That is true.
You believe the same thing I believe. You believe that time is also not infinite. If you believe in the Big Bang, then you believe, it depends on what you believe is what I'm trying to ask you. If you believe that nothing exploded and created everything, then you believe that, brother, I still don't know what you believe. You know what I believe? I have no clue what you believe. So,
I believe you don't understand what you're talking about, dude.
all right.
What
Well,
do you believe?
I appreciate the
What do you
conversation.
believe in?
Thank you. Guys, if you want to remain on this panel, here's what we got to do, because I say this usually more than a couple of times. Okay. You got to answer questions directly. And then if you make a claim, you have to support the claim. Okay. I can't have a conversation with you if I don't know what you believe, because, you want to say that my belief system and thinking that time is not infinite is silly. But at the same time, if I don't know what you believe, I don't know how to have a conversation with you, because if you believe in evolution, then more than likely you believe that time had a beginning.
What if time doesn't move forward? What if you just move forward through time? Like, you can only go one direction, and that's forward.
I think time is just you're just
You can't
observing.
just go backwards.
Time is a construct for humans to understand what's happening. Here's
Well,
what I believe in.
not
I believe in
according-
reincarnation.
not
You believe in
according-
reincarnation.
For the love of everything holy. Not according to Einstein's theory of general relativity. Time is not just a construction. It's actual, it's I don't want to say it's a substance, but it's a mathematical equation, right? Technically, if you went close to,
I believe in reincarnation, and I think you're seated here by an
okay, so if you get close to a black hole, right, then time slows down for you. So you can't say that and that this is what Einstein did with his theory of general relativity, guys. So
reincarnation.
thank you. Let me get this out. I don't care. Let me get this out, and then you can respond to it.
You're just here to filibuster?
Oh yeah, I'm going to filibuster. If you let me get it out, then you won't have to worry about me filibustering. I'll get it out, and then you can respond. Because your thing about time being a concept or construct is wrong. It's wrong. Because if it was a construct, it couldn't slow down or speed up, according to Einstein's theory of general relativity. Please go study on it before you make a ridiculous comment in here and then don't want to hear the answer to it. Oh, man, the first 20 minutes, you always got to get through the trolls.
No, I think
What's
I
up?
think we agree on this. So I think the physical universe, which is the space stars, is created, ordered, and purposeful. It's not an infinite, godless, meaningless way, and God rules over it all. But it's temporary in its current form because he does talk about a new heavens and earth in Revelation and Isaiah.
Right. That's why I think there'll be an end to
The
it.
same way.
I'm sorry, Carrie Ann.
No, I was just
Yeah,
wondering
yeah.
if you agreed with that.
Yeah, that's why I think there'll be an end, right? Obviously, time had a beginning, so I believe there'll be an end. And I think that, you know, I couldn't prove this scientifically. I can prove that it had a beginning. I can prove that if you believe in Einstein's theory of general relativity. I couldn't prove an end, but I would say that there's, you know, obviously I believe there's going to be an end to it. I think that when we go into eternity in the next life, that's outside of time, space, and matter, obviously. Now, God's going to create a new heaven and a new earth. Whether that will have time in it or not, I don't know.
Have you ever had a medical intervention?
That doesn't make you. Do you have a question on the topic, or did you just want to come up here and throw some insults and then run out?
I'm talking about evolution. Have you ever had a medical treatment, medical intervention?
Sure, I've had, like, you know, I broke my leg or collarbone or something like that. So
You've never been sick? Had antibiotics?
oh yeah, I've had antibiotics.
Okay, well then evolution has helped you recover from your ailments.
Through antibiotics.
Absolutely.
How do you get that?
That's
How
not
do I
true.
get that?
Yeah, how do you what makes that evolution? I want to hear that.
Okay, like, do you understand that there are different levels of antibiotic intervention that have been developed over time? Because
That's not evolution. That's science.
I got it, King. Let him finish so I can understand what we're responding to.
Evolution, like one of the core concepts.
Let him finish it so we know what we're responding to. Don't interrupt him when we don't even know what we're responding to yet. Let him finish.
So what infection did you have that required the treatment by antibiotics?
Brother, I just want to know why that's evolution. You haven't answered that for me yet. Why is
No,
treatment?
no. Like you said, you let me ask
Oh,
my
well,
question.
then okay. I want to know why that's evolution. That's why I wanted you to continue, because I want to know why that's evolution. So I want to get to that
Okay,
part.
What treatment have you received by antibiotics, and what condition did you have to treat that ailment?
I can't remember, some kind of infection, and they gave me. I don't get sick very often, brother. God takes care of me for the most part, and to Him be the glory.
Well, until you needed antibiotics, right?
Right.
So God takes care of you until.
I just want you to answer directly. If you can't, then please stop wasting my time. I want to know why this is evolution.
The development of antibiotics is rooted in evolution.
How?
The way that we developed, that science develops antibiotics, is rooted in evolution because these bacterial these microbes are able to take information across different microbial
I don't think,
species.
brother, all due respect, I don't think you know what you're talking about. I think you're just up here saying a bunch of words.
Do know what I'm talking about. Absolutely do know.
Then can you explain what you're talking about? Because so far you haven't said anything.
Microbial species are able to transfer
Okay.
defense against antibiotics through different species.
Okay, so you're talking about the.
Evolution determines how.
All right, so let me help you out here. I know, I got you. I'm gonna help you out here because you're starting to spaz out. So I think you're talking about. I got it. I think you're talking about antibiotic resistance.
Your mom's a dog breeder.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So I think you're talking about antibiotic resistance. If you're talking about that as far as evolution, I know what you're talking about on that, and I can help you. But if you're talking about the invention of antibiotics as evolution, I think you're I don't know what you're talking about on that one. So if you're talking about the resistance, antibiotic resistance is evolution, then I can have a conversation with you. I know what you're talking about on that.
No. They're both rooted in evolution because the ability.
All right, brother. All right. So antibiotic resistance is not. It doesn't do it through evolution. It does it through degradation. And I can prove this to you. Stop. Okay. If it's absolutely not true, then do this for me. Okay. I want you to Google, did the antibiotic resistance predate the invention of antibiotics? And you know what the answer is going to be? I'll let you do it on your own, but do you know what the answer is going to be? It's going to be that the resistance get off my stage. Get off my stage. I'm not smart enough to have this conversation. Antibiotic resistance. And yeah, get off my stage. Antibiotic resistance predated antibiotics.
It's just a direct result of the bacterial evolution.
You're absolutely wrong.
Okay, so have they found it in the Itsy man's stomach? Right, he was a frozen man that died in the gas. Please stop. Let me get this out. I let him talk the whole time. They found the antibiotic resistance in, I think it's the Itsy man who was frozen in a cave. Right, he was frozen before the invention of antibiotics, and we find antibiotic resistance in permafrost. I can tell you how the antibiotics is resistant. It did not evolve. It does it through degradation. Yeah, get off my stage. Go look that up. You're wrong. You're not going to be allowed to come up here and just state something that is factually incorrect. It's not even close to being right. No, we didn't.
No, that's a great example. Antibiotics being able to resist their offspring, the survivors of the ones who survived the antibiotic treatment and their offspring and whatnot is a direct evidence of evolution.
Okay, so let me ask you a question then. Did the resistance predate the invention of antibiotics?
No.
Well,
Yes, it
bacteria
did.
being able to, just because we created bacteria, created antibiotics.
All right, so hold on, wait. Let's say this very. I don't not slow as in you can't pick it up, but let's just take it a bite at a time, right? If the antibiotic resistance was here before the invention of antibiotics, it did not evolve from it, brother.
Using his argument, he basically saying that gain of function research is also evolution, and it's not.
Right. So
Just like dog breeding would be evolution of dogs, it's not. It's
I got
just
you.
selective breeding.
exactly, it's trait isolation. So anyway, the antibiotic resistance predated the invention of antibiotics, so it did not evolve. That's number one. Number two. Yeah, number two, the way that the antibiotic becomes the way that the bacteria becomes resistant to the antibiotic is degradation. That's one of the reasons it predated it, is because it does it through a degradation. For example, I want you to think of the bacteria having like arms, right? Just a thought experiment to follow with me, okay? Right. The bacteria have arms. The antibiotics are handcuffs. The handcuffs come in, they handcuff the bacteria, take them off to jail and unalive them. But every now and again, in so many millions of generations, there is a bacteria that is born without any arms. It didn't evolve, it's devolving. It has less information. The antibiotic comes in and it can't handcuff it because it doesn't have any arms. It doesn't have the receptors for the antibiotic to attach to. So it gets to survive. It lives. But it does not do that through evolution. It did it through degradation. It's inferior to the regular population. It's not superior. It didn't gain any information. It lost it.
That's knowledge.
Well,
that's fucking knowledge. I like that.
That is a specific.
That's knowledge.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like some people born with disabilities, they shouldn't be alive because they wouldn't be able to survive 1,000 years ago.
Wait. Okay. I'm saying, if using one case of degradation in an antibiotic experiment does not disprove or disprove or any evidence whatsoever of bacteria over time.
You see,
adapting to
that's
their
a
environment.
That's a faith-based statement, brother.
These are two exclusive events.
That's a faith-based statement. We brought up an example, not you personally, but we brought up an example about how antibiotic resistance is proof of evolution. And then when I say no, it actually predated evolution, when we're just going to say, well, that's evolution anyway, well, then you have an unfalsifiable viewpoint. You have a deity now, right? If I was to do that, you would say, well, man, you just have faith, and that's just, you're not going to believe anything outside of God, and that's not reasonable, right? So if I did that, you would call it like God of the gaps. But here you are, you cannot keep claiming that's evolution. If it predated it, it did not evolve from it. And if it's doing it through degradation, that's not evolution.
Those are two strong assertions or claims that have nothing to do with the observable behavior of bacteria over time.
Sure. Okay. Yes, it absolutely is. We do the longest running evolutionary experiments called the Linsky experiments. Are you familiar?
No.
Okay, so we've been doing experiments on bacteria. The reason why I like to use bacteria in that when we're talking about evolution is because it takes away the millions of years. Because bacteria can have 9 generations in a single day. So we can literally see hundreds of years in a single day, right? In bacteria generations. And what humans went from like great apes to humans in 80,000, 90,000 generations, we have seen that in the Linsky experiment. And you know what we see? We've been doing it for 40 years now. We see degraded bacteria. We do not see information gain. So the Linsky experiment that's still ongoing to this day shows us that our bacteria that we're doing in these long-running evolutionary experiments are degrading. They're not gaining any information. So that's not evolution, brother.
Wow, that was real knowledge. Wow. Yo, I just checked the channel and I appreciate you. Drop that knowledge. Let them know.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Why are we leaving that out?
Leaving what out? I couldn't hear you. You were off the app, brother.
Oh, got you. Well, I quickly looked it up while you were talking about it, so thank you for that information. There have been claims of there have been observed. I'm saying here that they've observed accumulated.
I can't hear you when you're off the app, brother.
Yeah, it's nylonase, or the ability to dissolve nylon. And they'll suggest that ability evolved. Here's the.
I got you. Hold on, Red. Hold on. I know what you're talking about, but we're on the Linsky experiment, so it's different. So what did you say, brother?
Linsky's experiment.
Different topic.
It's not nylon. The Linsky experiment started eating citrate, not nylon. Nylon.
Citrate, that's right.
Yeah. So go ahead, Mitt. You were off the app again. I couldn't hear you, brother.
Gotcha. I have to look through it, but it looks. I hear from a
yes
basic search that there have been some.
Yeah. So they're going to claim there's evolution, brother. Right. They're going to claim everything is evolution. So let me tell you what happened real quick. So you got to have a standard when you're looking at it, because evolutionists are going to claim it's evolving, but it's not. It's doing it through degradation. That's not evolution. You have to have a standard. The evolutionists out here in the world, they don't have a standard. So literally everything is evolution. If they see something gain information, that's evolution. If it stays the same, that's evolution. And if it loses information, that's evolution. So there's literally no experiment that they could do that would disprove evolution in their mind. So we have to have a standard. The standard needs to be information gain, right? If we went from a single-celled organism to a fully functional human, you would agree that there has to be some information that has to be gained there. So the Linsky experiment, they put these bacteria, these E. coli bacteria, in a flask, and they've been feeding them, and they want to see. King, I'm gonna mute you up, brother. You got a lot of background noise. So they feed the bacteria, and then when the food runs out, they freeze them, and then they do it again the next day. And like I said, they can have 9 generations in a single day. So after 40 years, you have 80,000, 90,000, something like that, generations within this flask. So what they started to see is that the E. coli bacteria, one day, the liquid water stuff inside that they were feeding them, the glucose, it started turning yellowish, if I'm not mistaken. So it started eating citrate. So they published all these papers about how this is proof of evolution. It started eating a new food source. That's a new function. Evolution was proven right. But when you actually look at the actual bacteria, it did not do it through evolution. And unless you actually read the papers, there's some things that they're leaving out. So the bacteria in the wild that they use, the E. coli bacteria, had the ability to eat glucose in an oxygenated environment, citrate in an unoxygenated environment, and it had, oxygen and unoxygen, and it had a flagellum. It means a little tail that helps it swim around, right? So the bacteria in the Linsky experiment, it has transfer proteins. The transfer proteins change shape in the presence of oxygen or when there's no oxygen. So the Linsky bacteria, that transfer protein mechanism devolved. It's no longer there. So it's stuck pretty much on citrate. Now it can eat glucose also, but the other bacteria are superior. So they swim around and get all the glucose before the bad bacteria or the quote unquote evolved bacteria can. So the only thing that they're left to eat the citrate. The other bacteria can't digest it until there's no oxygen present. So anyway, long story short is that the wild bacteria has glucose, citrate, oxygen, unoxygenated, and has a flagellum. The ones in Linsky's experiment only they lost the ability to eat. They have the ability to eat citrate in both environments, but not glucose or not citrate in an unoxygenated environment, and they lost their flagellum. So the ones in Linsky experiment is here, and the ones in the wild are here. So the Linsky bacteria are not evolving; they're devolving. So when they say that it come up with a new trait because it started digesting citrate, it did not have a new trait. The bacteria already had the ability to digest citrate. So it just started doing it in an oxygenated environment, and it didn't do it through information gain. It did it through degradation.
So degradation is not the change based on information gained?
Now,
even
see,
if it's lack of
right. So that's what,
degradation?
now I'm going to be honest. That's what evolutionists are going to fight you over. If I have an evolutionist come up here, they are going to fight me tooth and nail to keep degradation as part of evolution. And they're going to say that, of course, it's part of evolution. They'll bring up vestigial structures, right? We have an appendix and a tailbone, which are perfectly, we use those things, but we have to be intellectually honest. Outside of an opinion or outside of us trying to prove something, you cannot use degradation as evidence for evolution. We can't go from a single-celled organism to a fully functional human by losing all of the information, right? So you couldn't possibly use degradation as evidence for evolution. That's not evolving. You're losing information. So you need the standard has to be genetic information gain. You can't keep losing information and claiming it's evolution.
Can I say one thing?
What's the anchor for the definition?
Is it possible for me to say one thing?
Sure.
Bacteria thrives off of sugar, glucose, but there's two bacteria. One that thrives off of sugar, one that thrives off of sodium. The bacteria that thrives off sodium don't live. The one that thrives off sugar lives. And guess what? The one that thrives off sugar, it doesn't. It evolves, but not. It evolves slowly. But the one that thrives off sodium,
I wouldn't say that it evolves at all, brother.
Can I say something real quick?
Because in this day and age, sugar levels is at all high, and bacteria is all high because of sugar levels.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that they evolve.
Sugar levels. Yeah, but guess what? It's causing the human race to devolve, not evolve. All right.
I would need to see what exactly the thing you're talking about.
I would actually disagree with that human evolution is devolving because we're seeing things in dissection. We're continuing to see the musculoskeletal system change. So we are not devolving, we are evolving.
Well, I would say that we're not doing that either. That's micro. But you already know my stance on that, Harlow.
Well, I mean, I agree with microevolution because nothing happens overnight. So we didn't lose the need of a tailbone overnight. That was something that happened. So
but we never
does lead to.
But we never lost the need for the tailbone. It's still there. It's still a need. It was never vestigial, and it was never a quote unquote monkey's tail. It's a structure in our body that has anchor points for it, the muscles that attach to it. You couldn't hop on the good foot and do the bad thing without that tailbone because it anchor points for your genitalia, for those muscles to attach. So it's not vestigial. It never was. And it never was a monkey's tail. People
I'm
are,
not trying to say that it was.
Right.
However, so what is your opinion? Because I heard you mention the appendix, which can now be a very inflammatory organ when irritated. We're also losing the need for a gallbladder. A gallbladder can become very irritated. If it becomes irritated enough, it has to be removed. To me, those are all forms of microevolution that lead to, macroevolution over time.
well, even if
If
it,
you continue to add one plus one
You gotta
plus
ask
one
yourself a
King, I got you. But even if
You
you,
have to ask your question.
hold on, King,
What
hold on, King,
is it?
hold on, King. I got it, brother. I got it. So even if I was to grant that, which is just because some people get it inflamed and you can live without it, doesn't mean it has a function, because they do have a function. Just, I think I would disagree. I would disagree. I would
Because
disagree.
we say in science that the appendix has little to no function
That
anymore.
is
You
not-
watch it,
Where you're reading that at, Harlow, that is not true at all. It's part of the immune system. Now, you can live without it. That's true. You can live without it, but that doesn't mean that you don't need it. You're subject to more different types of infections if you lose your appendix. Same thing with the gallbladder. Just because you can live without it doesn't mean you don't need it.
So the gallbladder is coming after the appendix, but I have seen in dissection the appendix is becoming smaller. We are evolving away from our appendix. That's a fact,
I would-
darling. I see it in I
That's
see it in
that's
dissection.
anecdotal
that's
from
not true.
that's anecdote. King, I got it, bro. I got it. That's anecdotal
It's
from
not
from
anecdotal if we dissect a body and we see
It's
over
your-
time it's becoming
Harlow.
smaller.
I get it. That's your anecdotal. You're saying that. I don't think that that's true across. It might be true in the area that you're looking at. There's no doubt. I wouldn't argue with you over your anecdote, what you've noticed. Okay. But I would need to see that across generations, but in different places. But I would also say that even if I was to grant you that, let's say that you're absolutely true, 100% true on it,
Smaller.
that's still not evolution. That's de-evolution, like my man said. That's degrading. That's not information gain. You're literally losing information. That's not evolution.
Well
Are
said.
we
Well
losing
said.
Amber?
Well said.
Wait a minute, because I'm trying to have a conversation with William, because it's like I see these things in dissection and I respect William very much. I'm not trying to fight.
No, you're
But
good.
it's like if I dissect, we talked about the wrist, right? When you have one wrist different than the other.
Mhm.
Do you really want to consider that degradation? Or do you want
No.
to consider it microevolution? Because
Right.
perhaps there's a need in the future because of our physical activity today
Mhm.
that we're changing our wrist.
Yeah,
You know,
but-
just like with the appendix. For me, I had my appendix removed at 3 years old. It got inflamed at 3 years old. So if we see it becoming smaller over time, then perhaps as we mature and as we microevolution, whatever term you want to use, we don't need it as much. It might be replaced with something else. Perhaps our immune system is becoming stronger through other means. This is why you do need to give science decades in order for us to answer these questions for you. We can't answer them
Right.
overnight. We
So-
don't have the ability to.
I got you, but you know my stance, Harlow. You've been in here plenty of times. So the fact that we talked about the wrist where I have the bump
Flip it.
there, and I
Wrong
don't
one, wrong one, flip it.
and I don't have it there, right?
Right.
So that would be micro. I would grant you that. That's a wrist bone being a wrist bone. And you can have mutations that might cause things. I would agree with that. But that's not new information. That's existing information that's already there. It's still a wrist bone. It's never going to be anything other than a wrist bone. You may have some differences in between each wrist, like I do. This wrist is different than this wrist. But
Did you notice it before I talked to you about it?
I noticed it, but I didn't know that it was a thing until you talked about it.
You know why?
Yeah, I didn't know it was a thing. I just noticed it. I figured that I probably had like a calcium buildup or something on the bone. But because I've done martial arts my whole life too. So I figured that's what it was. But that would be micro. And so my stance that in evolution, all I ever get is micro or degradation. So the wrist going from wrist to wrist is microevolution. That's not macro. And then if the appendix is getting smaller and we're losing it, that would be an example of degradation, not information gain. So again, for evolution to be true, I need to see some information gain. I don't need to see changes within the same, kind of animal, like dog breeds getting longer hair or shorter hair.
So let's go back to
He's
Oregon.
speaking the truth. He's speaking the
Wait a
truth.
minute.
No, it's not.
Oh my God. I'm not trying to argue with any of you. I'm trying to give an educated example.
Yeah, let Harlow go ahead, Harlow.
You know, I give up. I freaking give up.
Go ahead, Harlow.
Because it's like, if we see in dissection, if we see it getting smaller, is it truly degradation? Because we no longer need it, and that you could consider that
Yeah.
microevolution because the human body is becoming where it doesn't need it anymore. So is that truly degradation, or are we truly evolving into a species that gets our immunosystem from other things?
But that would be degradation. You're literally losing a body part. That's not. Again, I try to simplify it. If we started off as a single-celled organism and we went into a fully functional human, no matter how many transcendental species you want to go through, then you're going to have to show me information gain. You can't keep showing me degradation, us losing stuff, and then we're claiming evolution,
To do something that takes us 20 years to do.
right?
You
And
realize
that's
evidence, like, far beyond my retirement. I can tell you now, we see it being smaller. I can tell you now in dissection, we're starting to see a fifth quad in some people. We're starting to see the makeup of the wrists are different. That's because our environment is changing. We don't have need for an appendix. So 100 years from now, we might have humans that are born without one altogether because they didn't need it.
and if that was
Is that truly degradation?
Yes,
Or is it microevolution?
you're losing information, Harlow. We can't go from a single cell. I got it, King. I got it.
Let me talk to him.
I got it. There's you can't lose information and go from a single-celled organism to a human. You can't. All we're showing is degradation. And that's why I like to use bacteria, because the bacteria takes the millions of years away, because they can have 9 generations in a single day. So if they're losing stuff, we can see it.
I give up. I'm trying to have a conversation with you about science.
I got it. King, let her go, guys. Let her go. Please don't make me
Because
tell
I'm
you
not
again.
trying to fight with you, William. I'm trying to
I know.
separate bacteria from actual human needs.
I got you, Harley. You're always welcome on this stage, and I know that we're not going to agree. I get it, and you're always
I'm not
welcome.
trying to fight with you right now, but I'm trying to establish that there needs to be a word in between. There needs to be a word in between microevolution and degradation. Because if the human body no longer needs it, that's not degradation. That is microevolution.
Well, I think that I'm not going to concede to that, because this is literally what not with you. I'm having a great conversation with you, but this is what I fight evolutionists for. They want to keep degradation because that's all we can observe. That literally, it cannot be part of macroevolution because there's no game there. Again, we can't go, if we're just going to go from humans, we can't go from a single-celled organism to a fully functional human.
I give up. If an appendix gets inflamed today, it sends you to the hospital.
Hmm.
If our human body macro or micro evolutions it out where it's gone, it's no longer going to send you to the hospital. So is that degradation? No, that's a positive form. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, in certain, it would be beneficial, right? I would get that.
That's all I'm asking for you to say. It's like if our bodies
If something,
evolution it out, then that we did it for a good thing.
sure, I would grant that all day long. But that's still not information gain, though. It is beneficial all day long. I'll give you that. It's beneficial, and
How's that not microevolution?
but it is micro. I will give you micro, but it's still doing it through degradation. So you still can't get macro out of that. I will concede.
You need to add a third word. You need to add a third word. There's micro, there's degradation, and then there's got to be a third word.
But this would still be.
The body is changing for the positivity of your survival.
Well, it depends, because wait a minute. What we're doing is we're taking a very select situation and saying, okay, if the appendix becomes inflamed, then is it beneficial to lose it? Yes. But does it also make you more susceptible to different types of infections, because the appendix is? But yes, it does. That's true. If you lose your appendix, like you lost your appendix, you are susceptible to more different types of infections. Not every single one of them, obviously, but it is part of your immune system. So you're not superior because of it. You're inferior because of it. You're more susceptible to different types of infection because the appendix is gone. So it's very beneficial. I
on the
got you.
educational panel, and I said to you, that is your claim, but my claim is because I lost. Then I would want to know, what did a 3-year-old do to like inflame her appendix in order for it to be a negative thing? However, if 100 years from now, like a toddler or a baby is born without an appendix and they never go through that, then that is information gained. Because the
No.
body has figured out we no longer need this organ. We're going to switch it up.
But that's because it becomes inflamed again. That would that's still not information gain. That would still be a problem. And if you lose it, you are still susceptible to more different types of infections. So it is beneficial in one very select field, but it's also not beneficial in other select fields. You may
What I'm trying to say is the body will replace it with something else.
That's a faith statement. We don't see that. You're inferring that. You hope that happens later. It'll replace it, but we don't see that. There's no evidence for that.
You don't work in a dissection lab every day.
Okay, but do you see new organs that are starting to form?
Perhaps we don't need that organ anymore. That's why it's became smaller. So it's not like, so wait a minute. Perhaps the human body is developing a need to not have this organ. Therefore, that is microevolution. That is information gain, because the body is saying, when this particular part of me becomes inflamed, it causes a problem. Because in the 1700s, you would have passed away from appendicitis. Now, today, it's an in and out surgery. We get it out, you're gone. You go home, you have a happy life. That's my argument, is like, you need a third word is all I'm asking you for.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the third word would be. I think I understand what you're saying, but then I'm just going to disagree with some of your, assertions. I do think that losing some things can be beneficial in certain scenarios. You've heard me use this scenario. If we have a new race of people, for example, okay, and the purple people scenario. Okay, so this is a thought experiment, right? Y'all follow me. There's a new group of people, because I don't want to be accused of being called a racist. There's a new race of people called the purple people. And all of the other races get together and they say, we need to unalive or get rid of all of these purple people. We don't want them in our society anymore. So in my make-believe scenario, just like science and evolution has laws, we have laws in my make-believe scenario here. We can't just go unalive them. That would be murder. So the law is that you have to go take every male member of the purple race, you handcuff them, throw them in the back of a paddy wagon and send them to jail. And then once you take all of the males out of the population, the females are only allowed to date the other races and reproduce. And their children that are purple, you go handcuff them, the males, and you throw them in prison. And eventually the purple race would go out of existence, because you're taking that trait and you're degrading
You're
it.
getting away from what I was talking about.
I got you. Hold on. Let me just, I'm going to show you.
Supplements, I don't.
I'm going to show you. So there was one individual that was born in the purple race that has no arms. So when they come to get him, they go to handcuff him. He doesn't have any arms. The handcuffs can't go on him. So he gets to stay in the population. So he has 10 children. Just to make the math simple, all of them are boys. 5 of them have arms. 5 of them doesn't have arms. The ones with arms gets handcuffed, thrown in the back of a paddy wagon, sent to prison. So now the purple race is you're encouraging the trait of no arms. So now the entire purple race doesn't have any arms. My thing is that we would fight for that to be evolution. Evolutionists would say that's evolution. They had a threat and they faced it, but it's not evolution because they lost information to get there. Oh my goodness, got the trolls this morning. That would be the same thing with the appendix. If we're losing it, then that's not evolution. It's degradation. Now, we might lose it for a very specific scenario that makes it beneficial. Just like it was beneficial. Good Lord.
Oh my God, stop.
Let me block this little guy here real quick. Just like in this scenario, the appendix, it is beneficial that you lose it because it was irritating you, and you could, if it would burst after an infection, then you could clearly unalive from it. So it was very beneficial, absolutely. But it's very beneficial in that single scenario, because the appendix does have a function. It is used in our immune system. So even though it's beneficial that you lost it, you're also that appendix now can't assist with certain infections that you may give and that you may receive, and you're more likely to catch different diseases now.
Go away. Get the fuck out of here.
So I would agree with you. We could call that micro.
Bacteria.
I'm sorry.
The only thing it's good for is gut bacteria.
Right, which could cause you infections. It's part of your immune system.
Other things. I swear to God, the next person that interrupts me, I'm gonna have a stroke. Because I'm trying to get somewhere with William to where we can have like a third scenario. Because it can't just be evolution or degradation or microevolution and degradation. We see the human body changing every day. And you're asking me to answer a question I cannot fully answer because I'm not going to be here in 100 years to tell you exactly why we evolved out of having an appendix. I can tell you we see it less and less in dissection. We see it getting smaller. That means the human body is coming up with ideas to produce immune systems without that particular organ. I've even heard some professors say we don't need it anymore at all. I've sat in those conferences. I've heard these people say that. I've seen it get smaller. So the only thing I'm asking for is we need a third word.
Well, I can understand. I mean, I would encourage you to, if you got something, think about it, Harlow. Oh my goodness, what's up with these little kids, man? I would encourage you, think of something if you can.
I'm saying the same thing over and over again, Kathy, because I do this every day.
Yeah, my thing
I
is,
dissect people for a living every day, so stop it. I'm not trying to fight. I'm trying.
yeah, guys. Harlow is
we need a third word.
Harlow is a friend of mine, guys. She's welcome up here anytime. So yeah, don't hate on Harlow. She comes in here all the time. She's a good friend of mine. If you think that would help Harlow, then yeah, I would go ahead. I'll take the time, think about that. If you can come up with a different scenario, I don't see that. This is my claim. Whenever I talk to people about evolution, the only thing I ever see people bring up is microevolution, which is changes within the same kind, or they'll bring me an example.
This would be a form of microevolution,
right? And it would fall into the other scenario that I always claim, which is people show me degradation. But
give me your definition of degradation.
Losing information, right? Like, so if we, again, and I always bring the same scenario up, if we went from a single-celled organism to a fully functional human, if that's the kind of evolution that we went through, then everyone would unanimously agree that we have to have genetic information gained there. They would say that it happened millions and billions of times, trillions of times through all of the different transitional species. We had to have information gain, not degradation. You can't go from a single-celled organism. Now, you could say that, degradation is a part of it. Okay, you can believe that. But for evolution to be true, from a single-celled organism to a fully functional human, we have to have information gain. And we can't keep showing degradation and then claiming that long ago and far away we had information gain.
I'm not claiming anything about long ago.
No, I know. No, that wasn't aimed at you.
I'm trying to give you examples of what we're seeing today, and I see Mindy has strong opinions in the comments. I can only tell you what we see in dissections today. We see it getting smaller. That means slowly over time we are watching microevolution. I understand that not everybody has the ability to see that like I do, but I just can tell you it's getting smaller over time.
But that also fits our worldview as Christians, Harlow. So we believe as Christians that we're going to degrade. We're not, everything's not getting better. Newton's second law of thermodynamics. So we believe that when Adam sinned, Newton's second law of thermodynamics kicked in. There was no death or decay before Adam. So the fact that we see degradation would be something that I could predict in my world model as a Christian. I would predict that we're going to see things that are like, my grandfather's generation had more testosterone. Males in this generation, people are starting to see a lot more feminine men because the testosterone is drastically reducing in men. And this is
I'm not going to go there. I'm talking about inside. I agree
right.
with you.
Well, that's true. 100%. That's true. That's not me throwing jabs at anybody. That's legit. That's a true statement that our grandfathers had more testosterone in them than we do in us as men. That's why you're starting to see a lot more testosterone replacement therapy, because that's quote unquote devolving. We're losing that, right? And that would be an example of degradation where there's no benefit to it. There's no benefit to that. It's going away. But we can replace that through chemicals and everything like that and fix it. But we would make that prediction through Christianity, right? Things are degrading and getting worse. That's evolution would say that you're finding problems and you're evolving around them. So I think it's just you're not wrong. You're 100% right in exactly what you're saying. It's just that two different worldviews are not going to come to the same conclusion, because when I see degradation, I don't see. You see degradation and you're like, okay, we don't need it. So evolution is being very efficient, getting rid of it, and then we'll come up with a new structure later or whatever. And you're looking at it from an evolutionist viewpoint. As a Christian, I look at it and go, it's degrading. There's no information gained there that couldn't possibly be evidence for evolution.
I don't know. I would have to talk to a Christian scientist on that one to see like what their viewpoint on, because I do think there needs to be a third category. Because just like, you don't need a cut on your arm. So guess what your arm does? It heals. So like I would need a third viewpoint, because I feel like, there has to be something else other than micro and then degradation. There has to be a third one. Mm-hmm. If we're going to come together and we're going to be like, okay, the body and God is smarter than we are, and God is saying you no longer need this organ, so I'm going to slowly get rid of this organ. Because why are we seeing a fifth quad? There has to be because we're becoming more athletic over time. And I've got clients that are in their 70s and 80s that are still running half marathons. You wouldn't have seen that 100 years ago, because they would have been less likely to even be alive on this planet. So there has to be a third category. That's all I'm arguing for. I'm not trying to tell you that you're wrong, and I'm not trying to say that I'm 100% right, but I see this in science. So there has to be a third category.
Well, like I said, I would encourage to think about that. If you can come up with one, hey, run it by me, and I
think it does fall under microevolution.
I would agree. with that 100%. That wouldn't, but my stance. Micro is not going to get you to macro.
But I mean, micro, if it happens over thousands of years, is not macro, because it happened over thousands of years.
Yeah, but again, that still goes back to, but if we throw degradation in with micro, okay, I'm with that. We can absolutely do that. You still the standard still has to be information gain. It can't be degradation. It has to be information gain.
Okay, then this is my question would be, is like, if we lose this organ because this organ is problematic, is that truly degradation, or is it information gain because your body has figured out that this is not good for me and it has micro evolved away from it? I still don't consider that degradation, because if we didn't need it, now you're talking to a scientist. Now we're talking like we have like in conferences. So it's like, if we didn't need it and we slowly got rid of it, I wouldn't consider it degradation.
I know,
I would consider it an improvement.
But you're losing. But Harlow, you're losing it. You're losing it. So let's take the word degradation out. Maybe that
adaptation. I like that adaptation.
All right. So adaptation. Yeah, take the word degradation out. Okay. You're losing, and you're losing it. Regardless, if you want to.
If you call me stupid one more time, you can get your little.
Who's calling you stupid? Yeah, guys, don't insult my guests, please, and don't insult my friends either. So.
I'm not even trying to fight with you. I'm just asking for, like, it's like I've listened to you.
Yeah.
My friend love you, all the thing. William's a dear friend of mine. I'm not up here to fight, but I'm like, wait a minute. We can't call it degradation if we didn't need it.
You can't if you want to go with, okay, we'll get rid of degradation, but regardless, if you just losing information. Okay.
I like what Sean said here about it's an adaptation. So can we add adaptation to it somehow?
Sure, but regardless, you got to think of it like math. It's you're subtracting or adding, right? If we went from a single-celled organism to a fully functional human, everybody would unanimously agree that you had to have addition there. There had to be addition. If you lost the appendix, that's subtracting. You can't keep subtracting things and getting to fully functional humans.
I don't disagree, but like you gave me the example of the purple people, I'm going to give you an example of baking a pie.
Okay.
Is there some pies that require a teeny tiny bit of salt?
Sure.
Yes. But if you add a whole heck of a lot of salt, you get something that's not edible, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to go back to with you what the friend person said in the comments. Perhaps we should add adaptation.
I'm fine with that. But at any rate, you still have to look. You still have to show me information gained. That's still that standard is.
Take you to the lab.
That standard is never going to change, and you cannot show me information gained by claiming that something subtracted. If we're losing our appendix, that could not count as evidence for evolution because we're losing it. It's not gaining, it's losing. Whether you want to.
Wait a minute. Perhaps we're losing it because our body is developing a way to replace it.
If
So that wouldn't be degradation, that would be adaptation.
that would absolutely be true. If our bodies evolved a new, that's why I give my definition of information gain, new functions, new structures, new code, new DNA. That would absolutely be evolution.
So
If
perhaps
Using something doesn't mean it's not evolution.
hold on, brother, I got you. I'll get to you.
because this is passionate, like we're talking like scientists, because like if we're losing the appendix, but we're adapting gut flora that perhaps our ancestors didn't have, then that would be your equation.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of these arguments, it's a scientific equation. If I subtract the appendix, but I add positive or negative gut flora that does the same thing, that doesn't get inflamed, and it actually can, that's a separate conversation.
Well,
But if we are slowly evolving out the need of the appendix through microevolution, because I always want to get confused, and now I'm getting passionate. This is why I don't do presentations, because I get a little dyslexic. But it's like if we are slowly evolving out of the appendix, but we're slowly evolving better gut flora, then that's your equation.
right.
That is your adaptation. It's not a degradation. Maybe we did degrade the appendix, but we gained something else. We gained something in the gut. So
Yeah.
do the two like equal out to adaptation?
So,
If we looked at the mathematical equation, is the answer adaptation?
right. So when you say gut flora, so it would have
I'm
to.
just throwing an example.
No, I got you. So I would concede that if there was a new organ in the body that did not have the ability to fight off the bacteria or whatever that the appendix does now, and that this new mechanism, this new appendage that come in our system, and it started doing that, and then the appendix devolved because of that, then yes, I would have to concede that is evolution. That's doing something. That's a new structure. That's a new function. If the appendix is leaving us now, if it's degrading now because of our ability to fight these diseases through our medicine or through taking care of ourselves better and being a healthier society, and that's why our appendix is quote unquote degrading. Okay, that's fine. That still wouldn't be. We're not evolving. We are losing it. But if we did it just through medicine and us taking care of ourselves, that wouldn't be evolution. But on the other hand, if it, like you said, if there was a new mechanism within our information, with our genetic code that created a new appendage and it started doing better than the appendix, and therefore the appendix evolved away, that would absolutely be evolution.
So the only thing I disagreed with you there is I'm saying that the appendix is devolving or degrading. Like you said, I'll give you degradation. But if the gut has now microevolution to the point where it can do what the appendix was doing, then we've accomplished the same goal. Therefore, if we don't need the appendix as much and it becomes inflamed and it sends you to the hospital and it's removed and you actually have a happy, healthy life, pardon me, then that's what we were supposed to. I just ate breakfast, so my apologies. So that would be the equation. So if degradation and microevolution are your two top equations, like put it on the board, people, write it on your little whiteboard. And if it evolves down into adaptation, we need a third word. That's all I'm fighting for this morning, because I love William. I'm not an adversary here, but I'm sad, but I am a scientist. So if we're going to build this bridge, it's like, okay, microevolution, degradation equals adaptation.
If it did it through a new structure or new something in the body, Harlow, I would agree. 100% that would be evolution.
But what if it is a structure? Like, okay, so then let's go back to the wrist or this quad.
Mhm.
Okay. We've had quadriceps since we were on this planet.
Mhm.
Now in dissection, we're seeing a fifth quad, right?
Mhm.
That is a microevolution. So if our gut system is doing something that no longer needs the appendix, that is the same thing. Because you nor me are going to be here 100 years from now to have the same argument. So we have to have another theory, even if it's the theory of adaptation.
Right. I still think that would fall in micro, but if you want to come up with
It would.
another third thing, then I'm free to listen to it.
I'm just saying that microevolution and degradation, fine, I totally get you. But if we're combining the two and then that evolves into adaptation, then perhaps that's the word we should be using.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. But people are still going to have to show me at the end of the day. They're going to still have to show me information gain.
Right about the pancreas in the and we're not talking about the pancreas right now, but I'm more informed about the appendix because I suffered from appendicitis. So and I've lived a happy, healthy life. And the theory behind that is our gut flora has evolved into the sense that we no longer need the appendix as much as we needed it thousands of years ago. So my second argument is there's no way for me to prove it to William because neither he nor I are going to be on this planet 100 years, 200 years from now to have the same conversation that we're having right now. But it's a theory. All we have is theories because we're scientists. We're not perfect.
Right. All right. Well, Harlow, I appreciate you bringing that up. You got anything else on it before I move on?
I mean, we can move on. We can ask other people's opinions. That's all I can give you. It's like because I can't give you an overnight answer.
I got you. Yeah. Well, think about it. And if you come up with something third, then, hey, shoot it to me. Let me know.
And I'll mute up. And hey, Mr. Allen, I see you there.
All right. Who is in here next? I don't want to skip anybody. Rock, I think you were in here next. I can't see your whole name. I can see Rock. Rocketi, and then I'll lose you after that. All right. Let me go ahead and remove you off the page. Let's see. Israel, were you in here next? What you got, brother?
Oh, just I wanted to say that I don't really think that evolution is false, but this is my opinion, and I think that God's real, but I think that evolution is just like another metaphor for. Well, actually, the metaphor is that Adam and Eve were molded like clay, right? So evolution is like when that evolved up into like what it was before we were human. Well, we weren't what it was. Like human souls started to be born in the form of Adam and Eve, and that's when human beings became human beings with human souls. And it was all set up that way. Like if you looked at it from God's perspective, it's kind of like if you saw it in fast motion, monkeys like being, you know, not monkeys, but whatever, apes being.
Oh, brother. All right, I apologize. Go ahead.
Being molded into what you as soon as they became human beings.
Give me a second. I gotta block this guy.
That's the way it goes. Like if you look at it from a far back
Keep talking.
perspective,
Brother, let me jump in here and ask you. So you believe in the Bible, but you believe in evolution?
Well, yeah, I mean, evolution is just what people, as scientists, would observe as the, evidence of what God was doing as He was causing evolution. I guess.
So do you believe in common ancestry, universal common ancestry?
I don't know what that is.
Do you believe that everybody come from a single-celled organism? That man come from monkey, basically?
Well, I think that the monkey is just like the clay that God is molding into like what people would become. Like it would become people eventually, but then that would
But that wasn't us. That was just like.
But I don't know what you believe to have a conversation with you. So I need to know what you believe.
That's what I believe.
So, but you didn't say anything there. Do you believe that people evolved from monkeys?
I'm saying that, yeah, you could say in a sense, human beings, the body that we take form in evolved from
Okay.
the process of
So
God using
then
monkeys.
you don't believe the Bible.
No, I do believe the Bible. I just think that they're one and the same.
Well, they can't be because
both have- it's
they
just a-
brother
it's a
Israel,
misconception.
I'll let you talk for a while. Let's have a back and forth now, okay? They can't be, right? They're diametrically opposed to each other. So one says say it again.
Evolution.
Yeah.
Opposed to-
Yeah.
Why is that?
Sure, I'll give you a couple of examples. Evolution says that the sun was here before the planet. The Bible says that the planet was made before the sun. Evolution says that the sun was here before the plants. The Bible says that the plants were made on day 3 and that the sun was made on day 4. Evolution says that reptiles went into birds. The Bible says that the birds were made before the reptiles. Evolution says that millions of things had to unalive for man to finally get here to where we're at. All of these things died, unalived, before we got here. The Bible says that nothing unalived before Adam sinned. So these things are not just mistranslations or an easy way around. They are diametrically opposed to them. Somebody has to be wrong and somebody has to be right.
Okay, I was unaware of those factors involved with that being what the theory of evolution is claiming. The only thing that I agree with that evolution had anything to do with was that everything was just happening, like as in God molded Adam and Eve out of clay. But really, what that's saying is just like God kicked off evolution. But really, it just happens. I think it just happens in this plane of existence. That's where it happens. It happens here in this plane of existence.
All right, brother. Well, I would encourage you to go study a little bit more about what evolution teaches and what the Bible teaches, and then we can have a conversation. Okay, brother?
Can I give you another thing? What do you think about this? You have animals that are carnivores that eat meat. You have animals that are omnivores that eat both, like humans. Yeah. You have things like cows and goats and that are vegetarian, right?
Okay.
Or vegan, I guess. So what I'm getting at is, in the beginning, evolution would say that we all started from the same. All animals came from the same single cell organism, and they just evolved in different directions. Meaning that they had.
I got you, bro. What's your question?
Two different. It's not a question. It's just like an understanding. They had two different wills. One will to survive, and the other will.
Brother, I got you. What's your question?
The other will is to live. The will to live and the will to survive. A cow has the will.
I really wish we could have got that question out. Cookie, what's up? I'm calling you Cookie because you have a picture of a cookie on your profile, but that is literally that's all I see. I don't see a name there. I'm crashing out, brother. I'm not crashing out. I just wanted you to ask the question. I had no disrespect to you, man. You seem like a nice guy, Israel, but it's not a question. Not a question. You said, let me ask you one more question before we leave, and then you went into a diatribe. That's not a question. Okay, that's not a me problem. Cookie, if you're still there, I need you to pull your mic up. I can't hear you. I'm calling you Cookie because you have a picture of a cookie in your profile. Going once. Going twice. Leo, what's up, man? Leo, do you got a mic? And what do people come up for? They come up and then they don't talk. I don't understand. What are you even coming up for?
You hear me?
Yeah, Alex, what's up, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, brother. Hope you are.
What's your intention of your post is? I'm kind of curious about it. That's
Sure, man. What I like to do is I like to strengthen the faith in Christians. And if you're not a Christian, then I want to try to convict you and get you saved. That's my ultimate goal.
Okay, so
doesn't really deal with reality and like what we're living through currently. It just has to do with an idea of salvation, correct? Your idea, the idea. I'm not debunking.
I don't know how that would.
Just
I don't
trying to
know.
figure out what you're getting at.
I got you.
What you're-
I don't know how that wouldn't be a part of reality, but okay.
Well, no, it is a part of reality, but I'm just saying that as a Christian,
Okay.
my mind and my heart and my soul are so deeply invested in the terroristic behavior of human beings right now.
Okay.
So it's hard for me to argue, theological or philosophical issues. But you're able to do that. I'm kind of wondering, as a Christian, how do you do it? How do you block your mind out from what's going on?
I don't. What makes you think I'm blocking my mind out from
I'm not
anything?
saying. Well, I don't know. Just to me, it seems trivial to deal with these kind of things.
Over what? Like what do you want? What are you wanting to talk about?
People in countries at war they're getting burned alive by attacks from so-called Christian nations like the United States. I don't get it. I guess.
So is that what you want? Is that your way of wanting to talk about Iran or something like that? Is that how you want to sneak that in?
I don't want to talk about it. I'm saying I find it amazing that you're able to talk about something like this.
I find it amazing that you think that everybody should be as equally pressured about whatever it is, the thing that you are on.
I don't.
I mean, clearly you do, because
I
don't understand how you could come up here and not understand that somebody else is talking about something else other than something that you think is really, really important. Like that to me is like, I don't understand the cognitive dissonance that you're having.
I do. I really appreciate your concern, but thanks, man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. That was just like wasted 3 minutes. We didn't go anywhere. Does anybody even know what we even talked about right there? I don't know. What happened? We went in circles. Nothing happened. Ugh. So do you think we come from Adam and Eve? Yes. I think everybody on the planet probably come from Adam and Eve. Yeah, why are you talking about this when you should be talking about this instead? Yeah. Ooh. Oh, you got a lot of background noise. There we go. What's up, brother? You doing all right?
Give me a second. Let me get away from all this noise.
I got you, man. So basically, we come from incest. Shane, you believe you come from Iraq. So I'll take brothers and sisters marrying each other over. We come from Iraq any day of the week.
All right. I was just listening to the last guy, and I think he was trying to get into like, why are we promoting Christianity or God or of any sort when the world is, burning and stuff like that? And I think he can't get. And what he doesn't understand is that actually helps the situation. He just doesn't see it how it does.
Yes, he has a very passionate viewpoint on something, and he can't understand why I'm not talking about whatever passionate viewpoint he has on the thing. I don't know.
Exactly, and I just don't understand, like, if these people that talk about they're scientists and all that stuff.
Yeah. Shane, I'm sorry. I don't want to be rude and interrupt you very quickly, but Shane, you're welcome to come up, because I promise you, if you believe in the theory of evolution, then I'm not the one that's misinformed here. You are. So the theory teaches, because this is what I have to do with evolutionists that want to come up and act like my religious viewpoint is stupid. You don't even know what you believe. So let me explain to you what you believe very quickly, and then you can say that I haven't read a science book. So your theory of evolution teaches that the planet was a hot and molten ball of rock, right? And that the reason how we got our oceans here is that it rained on the rocks for millions of years, and the acidic rain dissolved the rocks and made a chemical soup. The lightning struck the chemical soup and created the first single-celled organism. And then that evolved into everything that we have today. So quite literally, you believe you come from a rock. All right, Chal, I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, man. You can.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how do they not see that they're pretty much a religion, because they're just basing all of their stuff on belief as well. There's no proof of what, or not proof, but evidence of what they're talking about. They're just like believing, right? They don't have the they don't use the same standards that they do with us. Like, well, proof to that God exists. It's like, well, you guys prove that your evolution theory actually exists. Like, you actually have to do the science and actually believe it. But if you're just reading it off of some other people, what they're talking about, and you didn't really test it out yourself, then it's just believing in other people, right?
So, sometimes, yeah. I mean, there's a good scientist will put their work out that you can test it and repeat it, right? They'll tell you their method so that you can get the same results that they got to test it.
If I may, a good scientist, like, you're putting us at such a disadvantage. Like, you're asking us to prove 1,000 years of theory in a moment, and we can't. We have the benefit of history. We have the benefit to know that Buddha and Jesus walked the earth. We know that. But you're asking us to prove something today that would take 1,000 years of research, and none of us live that long. So please don't put us at a disadvantage, because we're human.
Right.
Like, I think that's the part today that's really hurting my feelings. I'm a human. I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be part of this panel. But don't ask me to prove something that we're not even going to know for another 900 years. I can only give you what I see today in a laboratory, and I'm one person. So don't put that kind of pressure on me. That's a little unfair.
Yeah, but I don't think it was put on you directly, Harlow. But I understand what you're saying.
I'm just saying that's how I feel. Like, it's like I want to get upset.
Well, don't.
Like, I want to build a bridge. I want to build a bridge between creationists and people who believe in science. But it's like you're putting us at a bad disadvantage of. It's like,
I think
give
you're.
you 1,000. I can't give. This is 2026.
Harlow,
I can't give you 3036.
I think you're always going to be I think you have an impossible mission. I do.
Exactly. It's like, what do you want me to do? I'm trying to build a bridge.
I
It's
think,
like, it's not time to
but
fight.
if you're trying to build a bridge between two viewpoints that oppose each other, I think you have an I commend you on the fact that you want to do that, but I think you have an impossible mission. I don't think you're ever going to be able to succeed in that, because I have a certain amount of standards that you're going to have to be able to prove to me that I don't think
How do you want me
anybody
to
can
prove
prove.
it, Will? Like, I'm not superhuman.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I say I think I commend you for it, but I don't think it's ever going to be possible. I think people are going to want to keep showing me, like we already talked about. I don't wish to go back to that, but I don't think the standard can be met. I don't think it ever will be met, because I think the way that God did it is the way that God did it. I don't think that he does it through
Who's to say
degradation.
that God's not evolving it right now.
Well,
Who's to say that God's not saying I can. Oh, and this is my favorite thing to say, and I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Why do you think that God created Eve second?
because he didn't want to be told how to do it.
Wait a minute. Oh, stop it. You hush up. Because God saw that he could improve it.
Fair enough.
It's like, I mean, and God created scientists. God created men and women who wanted to go out there.
Yeah, but our
to build upon truth.
our definition of gods are going to be different, right? Like, my God told me how he did it, and it literally is not the way evolution says it. So these things are diametrically opposed. So for
But
me
I
to
don't even identify as an evolutionist. I just identify as a human and a scientist.
No, I
It's
know.
like,
I'm
not
just-
perfect.
the theory of evolution diametrically opposes the Bible. The two cannot coincide or coexist. I would have to give up my religious viewpoint in an effort for me to believe in evolution. Now,
Well,
if the science is
Did he not create me? And I'm a scientist.
right, that's why I say that the science actually points towards the Bible. I don't see any reason that the two don't coexist. I think that if individuals, and this is why I encourage you, I think if you keep doing it long enough, eventually you'll come over to Christ and give your heart to Him. Because I think that science follows it. I don't think there's
that he's like a caveman and that he doesn't believe in evolution.
but I don't believe in, again, we believe in micro, but I don't think there's any scientific research that could possibly back up macroevolution. There's not. When if
I
so,
don't disagree with you. So why are we fighting?
we're not, we're having a conversation. I didn't take this as us fighting. So if I fight with people, they don't usually last long up here, Harlow. And I always disagree with you, and you're always welcome up here.
You don't always disagree with me. It's like you just hurt my feelings so much. It's like, I mean, it's like I can't take you into the lab with me and show you what I'm talking about. Like I don't have the ability to do that for
Well,
you.
even if you did, Harlow, I would still grant that that's micro, which we're going to agree on micro. We're not going to agree on macro. I'm going to say that, wow, that's God wrote amazing code within our genetics for us to be able to adapt, right? He wrote within the code amazing genetics for things to be able to evolve to their surroundings. That's amazing, but you can't get macro out of that. So that would be my contention.
Look here, home fry, unless you got a PhD, stop it. Because I am not in the mood. My feelings have already been hurt.
Why is your feelings hurt, Harlow? Why is your feelings hurt?
My feelings are hurt just because it's like I'm trying to like build this bridge, and it's like I feel like I'm getting so much flack for it, and it's like this is what I feel. I feel like you guys are asking a scientist to give you 1,000 years of information when we only live 70 years, and we're only in our fields maybe 30 years. It's like we can't give that to you. We don't have the ability to. Right.
Well, I don't take it personally. Maybe sometimes we need to take a break, go smell some air and touch some grass and stuff. I don't want to hurt your feelings up here today, but obviously I'm gonna keep saying that I don't see evolution, but I don't want you to take it personal.
I'm agreeing with you on the microevolution. All I'm asking you to take consideration in is we dedicate our entire lives to this.
Yeah.
To try to understand it. So please don't ask me for 1,000 years worth of information when I'm only going to live 70 to 80 years. And I hope the heck in 2.5 years, because God bless my husband, because he gave me Superman. Like I married Superman. I'm sorry, ladies, but I already married him. Like I could retire right now if I wanted to. And when I do retire, I'm going to look into this creation theory of how do we build this bridge, because I would love to do that for you. But don't come at me because I can't give you, 36 information, because I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be in the Lord's temple hanging out with my husband having a cocktail on the beach.
I hope so. Absolutely. All right.
What do you want me to do?
No, that's keep do your thing, Harlow. Yeah, look into this third option you want, and I think you're going down the right path for sure. Zam, what's up, man? You doing all right?
I'm fine.
What you got?
You say God and genetics, but genetics shows that there is no God.
I say God is genetic. When did I say
You're
that?
saying God did something through genetics, but genetics doesn't show that.
Like, what do you mean, brother?
And the genetics shows that your Bible never happened. So,
Like what? What do you mean?
so there's the genetic bottleneck is completely different in all species. There's if your Bible was right with Noah's flood 4,000 years ago, the genetic bottleneck would be exactly the same in everything living.
You do when you say that, I got you, but hold on, let's not go too far. Hold on, guys. I got it. Brother, wait. Let's not go off into three different things, and then we have to go back and then try to address them when we miss it. So you talked about the genetic bottleneck. Are you familiar with mitochondrial Eve?
I think so. Yeah.
All the humans on
was,
all the humans on the planet today can trace their mitochondrial DNA to one woman.
But yeah, I think it was about 100,000 years ago.
Well, it depends. You got two different dating techniques on that. Are you familiar with it? You got.
I've heard your argument on this before.
Sure, you got-
and I looked it up, and it's not what you say it is, but that also doesn't show.
Hold on, wait a sec. Stop. Okay, wait.
Genetic bottleneck would be the exact same thing.
All right,
as
all right.
the other
Let me put you on a pause here, Zam. Zam.
on the
All right, I'm
news.
going to mute you. I'm going to mute you up because people come up here and they have this thought process about what they're going to say, and they don't actually have a conversation. So when you ask them a question, they just go like you're doing right now and just continue to talk and talk and talk, and you're not listening. You made a claim that I was wrong in how I present it. So please, I would like my thing. If you listened to me before, Zam, if you make a claim, you're going to support that claim. So how am I wrong in how I present it?
So it changes the genetic on average changes every 2,000 years. So you could show what you're saying could show, yeah, that there's something that happened 6,000 years ago, but you can go back farther.
That's not what I claim at all. So
And that your claim? That's fine with your claim.
No, that's not
Take your
Zam.
claim as it
Zam.
is.
Zam. That's not my
That your
claim.
claim as it
For the
is.
love of everything holy, Zam, I'm losing my patience with you. Okay, I want to be patient. But you made a claim and then you straw man my claim. So let me tell you what my claim is, and then let's see if you're going to stick with I'm misrepresenting it. Okay. So you have two different dating techniques in mitochondrial DNA. Okay, you have pedigree calculations, and then you have substitution calculations. Pedigree calculations takes the tested, known, and observed mutation rates. Okay, it's not inferred; it's observed. They got groups of people together, several thousand of them. They tested the mitochondrial DNA in the generations and observed how many mutations they had, and then you can infer from the calculations from the observed the observed mutation rate that the calculations go back to about 12,000 years, not 6,000. It goes to about 12,000, if I'm not mistaken, give or take a couple thousand. That's what the pedigree calculations show. That's tested and observed. Then you have the substitution calculations where they looked at fixed mutations, and then they assume, or not, they assumed that there were mutations, fixed things within the genetic code, within the mitochondrial DNA, and they assume that they used to be mutations that became fixed. And then they calculate how long they assume it would take for that mutation to become fixed. And that's the calculations that give you hundreds and thousands of years. So the way that I represent it is that the testable, observable science part of the pedigree calculations gives us tens of thousands of years. The non-testable, non-observable, inferred substitution rates is what gives us hundreds of thousands. So if I misrepresented that, then please tell me how. You're muted up. I can't hear you. Zam, you're muted up again. You just unmuted and there you go. What do you got?
I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about. What was the name of that?
Substitution calculations and pedigree calculations. It's in mitochondrial DNA. Kind of funny how you first claimed that I was misrepresenting it, and then you clearly don't even know what I'm talking about when I represent this. You said that heard it before, and I misrepresented it, but then you don't know what I'm talking about.
I just forgot what I know. I looked it up. I forgot what it was.
Sure.
So I'll just accept your claim.
Okay.
But so show me where the genetic bottleneck is exactly the same in all animals and all species 4,000 years ago. Because like cheetahs is 10,000 years ago.
Right. So, I mean, I would give an error. So if you say cheetahs is 10,000 years ago, then okay, I could agree with that. I think even within these substitution and pedigree calculations, you're going to have a margin of error. There's no doubt. Okay, great. And if you say cheetahs are 10,000 years ago, okay, I'll give you 10,000. That's not hundreds of thousands and it's not millions. So I'm perfectly fine with it being 10,000.
You have to show me that it's exactly the same in everything that's alive.
I mean,
you got to show dogs, cats, whales, bacteria.
And what do you mean?
viruses.
But what's the problem? I don't understand the problem because I can show you through the the what's it called? Population, right? We can show through population that it's just fine. Like you could go from 8 people 4,400 years ago and get to the population that we have today. So
No, you can't because
yes, you can.
50%, over 50% of all children died before the even.
That's taking it. You can look up the studies yourself, brother. I can Google them for you right now if you'd like, but the population could. That's even taken into account all the world wars and things that we had of this nature. It's perfectly reasonable.
That doesn't take into account for all the diseases over the last.
Yes, it does. It takes into account the fact that we have 8 billion people on the planet today. It takes into account all of the diseases and the world wars that we have. The population could have come from 8 people 4,400 years ago.
It wasn't 8 people. I thought it was 4 people. And if
It
you
was-
had 8 people, there would be it's not possible to create that. There'd be too much genetic diseases from inbreeding within those 8 people. to get us to
No,
where
you
we're
have-
at now.
you're-
And that would be with all animals.
No,
Yeah, we
you
don't
have
see
a
that.
you have guys. What in the world?
With all animals, yeah, we don't.
You have a viewpoint called uniformitarianism. So you believe the way that it was today, the way that it is today is the way that it was back then, right? So
4,000 years ago.
4,400 years ago, yeah. Still, regardless of how far you want to go back.
It was like that. What's
All
like
right, brother.
today, 4,400 years ago would be.
All right,
about
Zan.
the
Do
same.
you have anything else you'd like to bring? Because this conversation clearly it's not going anywhere. Because
It is going somewhere. You just don't like where it's going because
Sure.
it's showing.
you got anything you'd like to add?
And you still can't explain why there's the genetic bottleneck is not exactly the same and everything, and then you can't.
Yeah, I know. I was totally wrong about.
Not everyone has STDs because the only way we could add STDs.
Oh my God.
Damn.
Have STDs. today.
Sam, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you, but you're not going anywhere, right? You're making a claim, and then when I showed you on the mitochondrial DNA that it goes back, it only goes back 1,200, then you just make a claim that I didn't. Oh, you didn't support it. I'm right. Okay, I can't help that. So I don't want to look like I'm getting frustrated and kicking you. That's why I asked you if you had something else, right? Because this is not going anywhere because I've showed you the mitochondrial DNA.
You only show
And-
me one thing. You can show.
All right, brother. Have a good one. I know. Yeah, have a good one. You can say I don't agree with it. That's fine, but we're literally not going anywhere else. So, Jeremy, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
You're wrong, dude. You can't explain it. You can't. There's no evidence. You just show one thing. You can't explain why the genetic bottleneck would not be exactly the same. They can find out where the genetic bottleneck is in animals, but it's completely different. All animals, viruses, bacteria,
Zam?
everything.
Zam,
Yeah, so
when I showed
if
you,
don't
Zam,
believe it-
calm down, Zam, calm down. When I showed you that the mitochondrial DNA bottles next to one female 12,000 years ago, how are you keep claiming that I'm not showing you?
That's just humans. I want you to prove that it's exactly the same in everything living.
I can't. I don't have every single study, brother. I don't have every single study on every single animal. You're asking me an impossible thing. I can't do that. Okay, there's no way that I could possibly do that. I've shown you that it goes back 12,000 on humans. So if you're like, well, I don't like that, show me on rabbits. And then if I show you on rabbits, you'll be like, I don't like that, show me on dogs. And if I show you on dogs, you'll be like, I don't like. You brought up cheetahs. I just conceded because cheetahs evidently show the same thing. So you have an impossible standard. I have literally already showed you mitochondrial
It's not an
Eve.
impossible standard.
Okay, well, go do the research, brother. Go do the research. If you don't have anything else to add, we're just going to be sitting here going, nuh-uh, right? And I don't want to be sitting here going, nuh-uh. So if you have something else, I think I've shown my burden of proof, and you're just wanting to move it to another type of animal. I'm not doing that. I've showed you mitochondrial DNA goes back 12,000 years on people. If you want it on something else, then go do the research and bring it to me. Okay, I'm not chasing your rabbits.
You're the one making a claim of a flood. You're the one that needs to bring the evidence showing that the genetic bottleneck is completely different.
I got
It's
you, brother.
exactly
Have
the
a good
same.
one. Please don't come back up, or I'm going to have to block you. Okay. I don't want to do that. I like people staying up and listening, but I mean, I've already showed you the mitochondrial DNA, and you just don't like that one on humans, so you're going to go to rabbits. And if you don't like it on rabbits, you're going to go to dogs. And if you don't like it on dogs, you're going to go to this other one. So I don't have every single study, man. I apologize. So, Richard, I apologize. Or I'm sorry, Jeremy, I apologize. You were cut off.
No, that's fine. There's a few things. I'm no scientist. You know, I'm 56 years old. Been around for a little bit. But they've also, I've read a few things here and there in my life, and they've also realized that the rings of the tree are incorrect.
Yeah.
They've also realized that mountaintops, almost every mountaintop in the world shows signs of a flood. So a lot of the scientific things have pointed to God.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't have creation without a creator. We see that every single day in our life. So I'm a big believer in God because I've actually heard the voice of God. As a cancer survivor, I've seen death and I've seen darkness, but I know that God exists, and I love your live, and I'm following you.
Appreciate
it.
it.
I love to get back and listen more about it.
Man, appreciate it, man. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that words of encouragement, man. Thank you. I'm sorry?
I like Jesus.
You like Jesus?
Yeah.
That's great. I appreciate you coming up here and saying that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for
TikTok purposes. Maybe they should.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to do that. I don't want to be rude. Thank you for coming up. Okay, Junebo?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. That's really nice out of you. Thank you. Veggies, what's up, man?
How's it going?
Oh, I'm sorry. What's up, woman?
That's a woman in my picture.
Yeah, you know, I wasn't even paying attention. You were 100% right. I apologize.
Well, appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing great. I hope you are.
Great. I'm doing wonderful. So let's just hop right in here. One of the prominent predictions that the evolutionary theory made was that all life would be related genetically. And then we found out that it is. How amazing.
What do you mean genetically?
All life on the planet is genetically related.
How?
It's true.
Okay, well, tell me how.
What do you mean? Through genes. We share genes with all life on the planet.
No, we don't share genes with all life.
We do.
We share genes with tobacco plants.
Yes.
What are the genes?
I don't know what they are, but we share some genes with all life on the planet. We share more genes with the ones that are closely related to us, and we share fewer genes with the ones that aren't. I'm sorry, I wasn't finished.
Okay, I don't care if you're finished.
Hold on, guys. Rat. Hold on. My guys, let's show a little decorum in here. If she wasn't finished, then please don't interrupt her. Allow her to finish it.
If she's gonna come in here with a claim, then at least back.
I get it, but wait. I got you, man. I'm gonna have the same standard, 100%. If you're gonna make a claim, you're gonna have to back it, and I support that. But at least let her get, even if you disagree with the claim, let her get it out, and then you can refute it.
That would be very much appreciated. So yeah, all life shares genes, even if it only to a small degree. Obviously, we would share more genes with the things we are closer related to, and less genes with the things that we are not as closely related to. And you can verify this by just looking at genetics.
So, but yeah, you're talking about similarities or actual shared?
Shared genes. We share more genes with the things we are more closely related to, and less genes with the things we are not as closely related to. For example, bananas, we share about 50% of the genes that synthesize protein with bananas. We don't share, that's not to say that we're sharing 50% of our genes with bananas, but we have a certain gene that helps synthesize protein, and we share this gene. Half of this gene we share with bananas.
I got you.
So it's a very small percentage, but it is the same.
I got you. So that would also prove common designer just as much as it would common ancestor.
How?
Because God made the code called DNA. DNA has the code that makes things. So I would expect that the code that he uses to make things would be in life, right? He has a code for life, DNA or RNA, and I would expect that to be in things that have, like, for example, we share a lot of DNA with the apes, right? Well, the DNA that tells an ape how to build a hand that has 5 fingers, a nose, an eyes, a mouth, 2 eyeballs, these things. I would imagine that they would be very similar in humans, if not identical, in the fact that we're building the same structures in a lot of same things. And genes that
I'm sorry, I didn't know you.
yeah, and genes that synthesize proteins, I don't think show that's what they do. So I don't think it's fair to say that that's common ancestry.
I didn't say that.
Yep, that's exactly what you're saying. You're saying that we all have the same genes, and a lot of these genes are just genes that code proteins.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. We share common ancestry with all life on the planet. Now, unfortunately, in your statement, you begged the question. You said that God created DNA, but that begs the question. You know that, right?
Well, I would say the same for you. We still have.
No, I didn't posit that somebody created DNA. You did.
You're still stating that it goes back to common ancestry. I'm just stating that the evidence doesn't point towards common ancestry. It points right, and
all have shared genes. Yeah.
Right, and it would also be the case that this could be a common designer. Insert whatever God you'd like.
You're begging the question about.
Then insert whatever God you'd like. It's still a dichotomy, lady. I don't care. I don't care that you don't believe one. No disrespect, but you have a dichotomy. The dichotomy.
Can you demonstrate that your claim is? Can you substantiate the claim that God made DNA?
Not necessarily. No. Could you? I got it. Yeah. Can you substantiate the fact that I couldn't substantiate my claim? Can you substantiate that either God didn't do it or that it come into existence?
My claim is that we are all related, and that it's.
And my claim is I got it. Hold on, stop. I understand your claim. My claim is also that
I was cut off earlier, and you allowed me some decency. I was cut off just now, and I don't get the decency anymore.
Yeah, but the decency should have went to me because you made your claim, and then I went to go do it, and then no disrespect, but I feel like you interrupted me, not the other way around. So,
wait, are you finished now? Can I respond to that real quick?
Yeah,
also hopped in
sure.
after you, not before.
Yeah, in that case, I apologize. I didn't mean to skip you.
Substantiate my claim.
Okay.
My claim was that evolution predicted that all life would be genetically related to some degree, and it is. And you can verify this with genetics. That's my claim.
Sure. My claim is that here. Hold on 1 second. I would like to verify my claim. My claim is also that. See, now you're interrupting me, and I didn't interrupt you. So let's have the same cordial attitude that you demand that I give from you. So please don't interrupt me. I would like to substantiate my claim. My claim is that God designed it and that he's using the common tools. So I can also make a prediction. My prediction would be that all life would have similar genes in it because that's the building blocks. See how I just substantiated the same thing you did?
You did not.
You did
claim
not.
Was that God made DNA, and you said you couldn't substantiate that.
Right, but the prediction, that's what we went off of. Your prediction is the same thing you just went off. Your prediction is that evolution could predict that we would all have the same structure, the same code. Yeah. All right. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Maybe next time.
Don't kick her yet.
She's got to go. She's got to go. She's got to go.
Hey, but have you ever realized
I know you wanted to. I get you. Hold on, brother. I wanted you. Good Lord. You wasn't in here next, brother. Let me go to my next guy. Although I had no problem with letting you quote unquote get her. I know you was chomping at the bit, but it wasn't going nowhere. That conversation was just so we could argue with it.
Well, then how do you substantiate, to my knowledge, God has never came down here and written a thesis.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Probably because we don't, he doesn't have to answer to us, but that's just an educated guess.
Yeah, we couldn't move past, she said that it was, common ancestry. I said that it was common design, and we couldn't move past that. So that it wasn't going nowhere other than just us being mean to each other.
Next, and I'm fixing to go get her. I'm going to be right back.
Yeah. Rat, what's up, man? You were in here next, Richie. I think it is. I can't see the rest of your name.
Yeah, it's
Ratchet.
Bird.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so one thing we can agree on, I've only been in here for maybe 10 minutes, but one thing we can agree on is we both agree on the process is the same, as we were speaking about before, whether it's DNA and how that translates between animals and humans.
Okay, I guess I probably need a little bit more detail on it. But
Well, I mean, that's pretty much what you just got done saying. Like the
Okay.
process is the same, more or less. He was given the same, or he has the same set of tools for all living things. Is
Oh, okay,
what your
yeah.
claim seem to be.
gotcha. Yep.
Okay, so right, so we do have things like mitochondrial DNA, and then the process behind it, like QT45, how it synthesizes and whatnot. Now, given that you can agree that the processes are the same, we can find fossils from quite millions of years ago, and we still see the process is the same. So, is your claim that you just disagree with the scientific way of achieving that date?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
and do you understand the process behind it and how we could devise from not just one method, many different methods, and come to the same?
Yeah, I would challenge the fact that you just said we can come to the same. That's not demonstrated for the most part, and it
Well,
depends
there's
on
variance in it.
it depends on which dating technique you want to go with. If you're using radiometric dating, then I can show that's completely flawed and full of assumptions.
Yeah, it is. It's not the best way, but there is a newer one. Of course, when I try to talk about it, the name escapes me. But basically, what it is it measures the ions and whatnot and how those break down over time, based on if it was exposed to the sun, the atmosphere, etc. And we could do a test of this today. We could do maybe a 10-year study and show that if one thing is exposed to the sun and one thing is exposed, buried, it's how these ions have broken down the material, and we could dictate an age from that. So it's a more effective way of dating. So this is what we've started doing with fossilized bones, with fossilized animals, sea life, same thing. Then we have things that are in those hydrothermal vents, not just under the ocean, but places like Yellowstone, right? The processes are a bit different, right? We don't necessarily share DNA with them, but the process is more or less the same of how it came to be. But my point is that dating, right, they've come up with much more effective ways to do that. And so have you looked into any studies about this newest way?
I have this. It's the first time I've ever heard of that. Most of the dates that I look into, they're using radiometric dating or they're using the geologic column. I don't know of this new.
We're straying away from that just because the variance is so large. I mean, it could be tens of thousands of years off.
I don't know this new.
Much more close.
Yeah, I don't know the dating technique that you're talking about. I've never heard of it.
Okay, so since you do like to do research, it seems I would go look into that. I'm gonna hop down. And
What's
the name?
Yeah, if you look up, if you find the name, send it to me so I can look at it.
Yeah, I'm sure I can just Google based on what I explained to you, and I'll find it. So I'll be back.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, man. All right. I don't know who. I think Blue, you were in here next.
I think Joseph was just before me.
Okay, gotcha. Appreciate you, Joseph. I'm sorry, man. I couldn't figure out who was in here next. What you got, brother? You're muted up. If you're talking, I can't hear you. You got to hit the little mic button. There you go.
Yes. My thing is, if we all know that the ark was made out of wood, have you ever thought how it was able to handle all the weight, especially if the weight was coming from elephants, gorillas, rhinos, all this stuff? For me, it doesn't make no sense at all.
Well, it was only 2 of them, so even if they wouldn't have been fully grown to begin with, they would have been babies, right? The whole purpose of this was to reproduce, and so God wouldn't have brought the animals that were old and fully grown naturally, because the whole purpose is to get off the boat and reproduce. So you're not going to bring in a bunch of old animals. Thank you for the stickers, guys. So it would have been babies. But even if I grant you that they were fully grown, then why it was, the ark was almost as big as an aircraft carrier, right? And you think that 2 elephants would sink it?
It was made out of wood. So,
okay, but Rick, even you can put elephants on a boat, brother. Even if it's a wooden boat, it's not going to sink the boat, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make. Have you ever think about how many animal species are in the world?
Yeah, it's about 6,000 basic kinds that they had to have on the ark. It's the study.
Yes, and how can two penguins cross a desert just to get
What?
in the ark?
The two penguins crossed the desert.
But like, you gotta read the Bible. Some of the stuff that is in the Bible doesn't make no sense at all. If
What?
you read the Bible,
Well,
it's
what
like
doesn't?
full of
Well,
contradictions.
brother,
If
don't.
you read the Bible,
Joseph,
you can
Joseph. I'm going to mute you up, man. We're going. But I don't mind answering your questions, but if you just want to come up here and have a diatribe about how you don't think the Bible is legit, that's fine. Do it somewhere else, because you're not asking questions. If you have legit questions, I'll try to answer them for you. But you can't just, as soon as I shoot down one, you're like, well, what about this? And I shoot down that one. That's not a conversation. That's just you trying to show how much you hate the Bible. I'm not interested in that. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. But if it's just going to be, hey, guess what? I hate the Bible, then you can go do that somewhere else. I wouldn't waste your time doing that either. So if you have a question, you can unmute yourself. Hit the little microphone button.
No, my thing is the Christians try to go more based on logic than assuming the facts. Like me as an adult, I go more based on facts than logic. Another thing is that if you believe in a God, where's the proof? Where's the physical proof?
Okay, brother.
I need to see God with my two eyes. If a God exists,
Okay.
He to reveal Himself on me.
All right, brother. I can't.
Physical way.
God's not a little puppy dog that does commands for you and tricks for you whenever you ask. So if that's your standard, I can't help you here today. Okay, brother?
Like another thing is that apparently atheism like goes like on fairy tales and all that.
I got you, Yusuf.
Atheism is like the
I got you,
denial of something,
Yusuf.
pretty much.
Yusuf, I don't want to be rude, man. And it always seems like I'm kicking people or muting people. I don't want to do that. Okay. I want to, our conversation cannot continue. You have an impossible standard. If God doesn't do A, B, C, D in front of me in the next 5 minutes, He's not God.
I might not have a standard. I'm
Okay.
just trying to make a point.
I got you.
If you want to
I
go
appreciate
ahead
you.
and remove me,
All right.
feel free.
Okay. Well, I don't want to remove you. I think I like guests up here, so you can mute up if you have something to add a little bit later. Then that's free.
No, just go ahead and remove me.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to make a point.
All right. I will then. All right. Blue, what's up, man?
What's going on, man?
Oh, hanging in there.
Before we kind of get into back and forth, I just want to understand like a little bit about you and your beliefs. Can you tell me? I believe you're a Christian, so what sect of Christian do you believe in, etc. So we can kind of get a base level.
Gotcha.
And I'll start with I'm an agnostic atheist.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'm just a Bible believing Christian. I would consider myself non-denominational. I fit to what the Bible says and not any specific denomination.
Okay. Since it's the Bible, and I don't mean this as a disrespectful question, but which version of the Bible do you
Gotcha.
read? Or study?
I go with the King James.
Okay, understood. Okay, so with that ideology, the first thing I find difficult is that even the King James Bible has about 400,000 different variants that have been proven over time to be changed. How do you come over that item and believe that yours is the correct?
I would say changed from what? Because we have different textual criticisms. It's a big field, and I can speak about it for a long time, but I don't want to filibuster the conversation. But it depends on change from what.
Well, some are written in different languages. Most of them in not Abrahamic, but was it Aramaic languages?
Yeah. So the Bible was written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek.
Yeah, and Greek. So you have variations in translation. We know that current scholars even change small pieces based on their interpretation or translations that they believe were false, incorrect, or slightly wrong. And even today, they continue to make changes to those items. Do you believe that those things are directed by God, that those changes are going through, or that those are man-made?
Right. So I would go with the majority text principle. So basically, you have two different main manuscript type traditions. You have the Alexandrian and the Byzantine. Alexandrian appears to be older, but I can show through textual criticism where it's actually not, where people would say, like, you may have heard that, oh, the Bible has, the newer versions have added in the longer ending of Mark because the oldest versions that we have doesn't have it in it. Well, I can show that clearly they knew about it, they just left it out. So I wouldn't go with the Alexandrian manuscripts. I would go with the Byzantine. I go with the majority text principles. The Byzantine later went into the Textus Receptus, and the Textus Receptus was translated. Then the King James put it out, and he had his 50, I think it was 54 scholars in 3 different universities that debated this and translated this for over a year. So I would think that God preserved his word in the English in the King James Version. Now, if you're asking me where it's preserved in the Spanish or whatever, then I wouldn't have that answer. But for the English-speaking people, I would go with the King James.
No, and that's perfectly fine. And again, I'm just trying to get like a baseline so we can kind of go on from there. So apologies. Hopefully that
You're
was
fine.
kind of quick and not disrespectful.
You got you, bro. If you're disrespectful, I'll let you know.
Okay.
And same to you. If I'd be disrespectful, you let me know.
All right. So the first thing is evolution. I think one of your previous panelists was on the right path of how we know that we were evolved. Have you ever heard of the Miller-Urey experiment?
Miller-Urey. I have not.
So the Miller-Urey experiment is one of the original pieces or original experiments that they were able to prove the early stages of Earth, right? Be able to create single-cell organisms from only the chemical composure of what we know was the Big Bang, the original elements.
Is this where they took the chemical soup elements and then added in lightning, and is that one?
No, just heat, basically. Heat from chemical reactions like nuclear fusion.
Right, but it didn't create your. I don't know if you meant to say that or if you alluded to it. It did not create single-celled organisms. All they've created in these experiments are amino acids.
Yeah, it's the building block of single-celled organisms.
Right, but there's still a big bunch. But I mean, you can have a lot of chemicals that create that are in things, right? I can put myself in a blender and chop it up, and you'll have all the chemicals for me, but you won't be able to make me. So you can have the building blocks for single-celled organisms, but that's not the same as creating a single-celled organism.
Correct. It requires millions of years.
Right.
To be able to get to that point.
I would. That's where
nuclear fusion that's required.
That's where I would disagree. I think that's a theory. You're free to believe that, but that's not testable and observable.
Okay.
So I would only push back. I would only push back on the assertion that we created single-celled organisms because we didn't.
Okay. Do you believe that we are carbon-based life forms?
Yes.
Okay. And that's part of your intelligent design
Sure.
theory?
Sure.
Okay. So here's the thing. You've got the building blocks of all of the universe. All of us have those common items built into us, and we share that with everything around us. She was correct that about 50% of all life forms on Earth, including plants, animals, and other items, share about 50% of our base DNA. Not to say that we're the same, each person varies less than 1% from each other, which is why we've had DNA mapping through things like CRISPR, the most recent, that's able to actually map the entire genome of the human person, which is how we're able to do genetic therapies, genetic testing, and how we are working on trying to bring back or reproduce things that are extinct that we found in fossil records.
Okay.
Like the dire wolf.
Right. Again, you heard my argument with her about common design.
design doesn't. It doesn't prove the variations, and it actually proves evolution significantly more than intelligent design.
How's that?
Because you see the variations break out in various different items. And somebody in the comments just after that said that adaptation, and you're correct, evolution is adaptation to environment.
Right. So I
You
see.
can see that with like the height of humans. Humans
Sure.
have, since the time of like Jesus 2,000 years ago.
So let me give. I'm sorry. Let me give you my definition of evolution, so we're not talking past each other, and what I think is a reasonable. Because I don't want to get stuck on definitions, because this is usually what happens with evolutions. Will fight you to keep definitions so they can claim a win, but that's not going to get you to it. So let's break it down more simply. You would agree with me, I think, most likely, that if we went from a single-celled organism to a fully functional human, no matter how many generations in between, you would agree that there has to be information gained there. So the definition of information gain, it would have to be genetic, because you got to be able to pass it on to your children. Information as far as new codes, new structures, new function, new DNA, and it had to be gained from something that it wasn't there before. And again, clearly you would agree that if we went from a single-celled organism to a fully functional human, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you would agree that we had to have genetic information gained. So that's what I require. So when you show me an example of dogs having longer hair, that's micro. There's no new information there. So in evolution, do you have any examples of genetic information gained that's tested and observed that's not inferred?
I guess maybe I'm not understanding your question exactly.
Sure. You claimed that the claim is that we evolved from a single-celled organism to a fully functional human, and I would agree that with that we have to have information gained. So then I want an example of that we can test and observe without having to infer it. So, for example, if you're going to say, well, we know that all the dogs came from a wolf kind of animal, so that's evolution. Well, that's microevolution. That's not macro. There's no new information there. You've literally taken information that already existed, and you've encouraged some traits and you discouraged some other traits, but you've also degraded for the most part. There's no information gained there. So if we went from, if you're going to say macro is true, then I need to see information gained. So do you have an example of information gain?
Got you. Okay, so I'd have to look up fossil records to be able to show the genetic changes between those.
Well, you couldn't use
I don't have that pulled up right now.
I got you, but I'll help you. You can't use fossils. Fossils are not going to show information gain. That's inferred. Right, because fossils are shapes and assumptions. You can't prove. I could make the claim that that animal unalived in the flood, and that was the end of that animal's lineage, and you couldn't prove me wrong. So for you to say that these two bones come from each other, you would have to prove that this bone had children and had children that lived. So we have to be intellectually honest, and fossils cannot possibly count.
Okay, well,
that really hard for you to understand?
The flood's a different subject.
King, don't.
Sorry, but
Don't do it. No, don't do that, King. I got it. Don't disrespect my guys up here to have conversations with. I want to have conversations with people that agree with or they disagree with me. So please don't disrespect them.
Oh, I didn't hear what he said. I thought he had something he wanted to.
Nah, he said, "Is that so hard for you to understand?" And I don't have time for that.
Yeah, I mean, my personal belief is that you should believe whatever you would like. I think that if you're a Christian, that you should believe to be a Christian.
Yeah, man. So yeah,
You should have every right to.
gotcha.
Do you mind if I ask a question about the question you just asked that other guest? Just to clarify.
Me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Real quick, go ahead.
Yeah. When you were asking about the gaining of information and an example that doesn't require inference, that kind of sounds like definitionally impossible. I mean, based on what the paradigm that it's the most people that commonly accept the idea of evolution would say that there are changes that happen over billions of years, and so almost everything that is operating on those timescales would require some inference because you couldn't replicate it in a short time span.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like so similar to geology. Like, if you're going to talk about cliffs eroding or something creating like the Grand Canyon or something, you're not going to be able to exactly replicate something on that time scale in a short time without
I got you.
having to infer.
That's a great observation. You're absolutely right. I think that it could be interpreted that way. But I would also I would counter that by saying that's kind of a faith-based statement, right? Like if you ask me how something happened in the Bible and I said, well, God did it, then you would say, oh, every time you don't understand something, then it's God. That's called the God of the gaps. So I would also make two arguments. One of those would be, well, that's just the God of the gaps for you. And time doesn't help situations. It makes it worse, right? So you're that's just kind of a God of the gaps argument. Well, we can't test it and observe it. So then therefore long ago and far away it happened. So that's a God of the gaps argument. And secondly, I like to use bacteria because bacteria takes this argument away from the evolutionists because they can have 9 generations in a single day. And if we literally, if you believe that we went from a monkey to a human and 80,000 generations or whatever it is, like a million, 2 million years of evolution, well, we've done that experiment in the Linsky experiment with bacteria. So we should be able to see small scale evolution in a single celled organism very quickly. Very quickly. You should see it, fast because you have 9 generations in a single day. So we've been doing that for the last 40 years. And what we see through these evolutionary experiments, they'll call it evolution, but it's not. They're degrading. We see information loss in these experiments. So that's why I like to use bacteria because it takes the billions of years away. And indeed, you'll hear the claims, well, we have this for the most part. I'll get, I've already had this discussion earlier today, but I don't mind having it again. Bacteria is becoming resistant to antibiotics. So there you go. That's the evolution part. And then I would go into how that's actually degrading. So that's how I would answer that.
May I ask you for the first time, please?
As long as you can be respectful, King. Don't be disrespectful.
Definitely. If within my knowledge that I understand in evolution, I mean, it takes millions and even thousands of years for evolution to evolve. But when evolution does evolve, it has a way of growing and becoming stronger based off his microorganism. In this case, he stresses an important value, important essence that you don't understand. When a human body is not elevating or evolving, something's happening that's not normal.
Well,
all this medicine, everything that's happening.
I got you, King. Thank you.
It's taken away. It's taken away from the body. It's not evolving it. It's actually devolving it. It's hurting it, destroying it.
All right.
So he makes a valid point that we're not evolving. Evolving it's not possible for us to evolve with such medicines and science stuff like that because
I got you, King.
We need science to do that, and that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. All right, Blue, did you back to you?
Yeah, I was trying to find an answer to your question, and I think I would agree with Vizbot that it's an impossible question because it takes away from the actual building the foundation of those items. So there's no way to answer that question.
But
that's kind of way to ask the question. Can you rephrase in a way that would be answerable?
No. The question's not falsified by the way that it's asked. The question's falsified by the fact that there's no evidence for you. It's impossible. That's not a me problem. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way. Please don't take it that way. But
no, that's okay.
If evolution was true, we have to see information gain, and it's happening all around us, all over, all the time. So it would be easy to see this in bacteria. All we have to see is a new structure, a new function. It don't take, like I said, in evolution in bacteria, it doesn't take millions of years because you can pass these traits on to your next generation. You can, if one bacteria would evolve a new trait or a new function or a new structure, whatever it is, they would instantly pass that on to their children, and you would see it one time. You would see it 9 times in that single day because they would be able to pass that on to the next generation 9 times in a single day. So it's not falsified in the way that it's asked. It's falsified in the fact that there's no evidence for it, and evolutionists want to keep degradation. This is why they want to keep degradation, because that is observed.
Well, let me go with that. Okay, so what you're saying is that because bacteria can change generations so quickly, that because we don't see a change or we see a degradation in a short-term experiment, that it disproves the evolutionary theory.
Right. The only thing I would
simplify it.
The only thing I would change in what you just said there is not a short-term evolution. It's the long-term. That's the name of it. Long-term evolutionary experiments. The Linsky experiment. It's been going on for 40 years now, which in the same amount of generations that we see in bacteria, humans went from apes to humans, right? In that same generation count, because it takes a lot longer for humans to do it, or apes, because we got to wait 9 months, right? So why did we have this huge evolutionary leap in 1 million or 2 million years worth of evolution, but in the same generational count in bacteria, we get degradation? So that's just a faith-based statement. Long ago and far away, it happened really fast and observable. But right now in this current state, it's just all we can observe is degradation.
I don't think that there's any. Sorry, I'll let you go in just a second here. I just want to conclude with this. So, what I would need to do to show you is a multicellular organism that gains information in less than 1 million years.
It'd have to be testable, observable.
Very short term.
Well,
4 years is still a very short term in the terms of like how old the Earth is, right? We're what, billion years old? 4 million?
That's what.
You know what I mean?
Again, I would. Yeah, we're gonna argue about the time frame there, but again, it's not an impossible requirement. You guys had single-celled organisms that mutated into multicellular organisms eventually, but we just don't see any of those. Like all the single-celled organisms today are not doing that. None of them are evolving into multicellular organisms. So
that's not entirely correct.
Yes,
we are still seeing small amounts of cohabitation between organisms. They haven't genetically shared information completely yet, but they do cohabitate, right? They stop fighting, and that's sort of the first signs. Now, one of the factors that's required that you're not getting in your 40-year experiment is the environment must ask questions that necessitate an answer that has not yet been given. What does that mean?
Right. So let me back up a little bit. Your example of single cells going into what your environment, you said is not. You said it wasn't necessarily true. Well, if you change the definitions of things, then you can actually say anything is not necessarily true if you just change the definition. So hold on. Let me get it out so then you can respond to it. A single-celled organism, when they what they've done is they've placed them in a chemical bath, and the chemical is like a predator towards them, right? So the predatory instinct is that they clump together in certain chemical situations. They clump together. So cows do this when there's a lightning storm. That doesn't mean that cows are now this bigger, organism. It's a bunch of single organisms that are acting on their best interest, if you will. That's not multicellular. That's not multicellular.
That's not multicellular.
Right. That's not multicellular.
So if you have multiple cells acting together and not fighting each other to cohabitate, that's not multicellular.
Not even according to the definition that you just gave. You said that there wasn't sharing any information in it. They just stopped fighting.
Well, they haven't started sharing their RNA information and making a singular, like, I forget what they call it, but it's like
right. So
it wouldn't sharing the information from one cell to another cell so that one cell can transmit and create multiple pieces. That hasn't happened. It has happened and it does happen, but we haven't been able to force that happening quite yet.
Right. So long ago and far away. That was my point.
Right. So, but again, so with your 40-year experiment, you need here we go. You're going to have an environment that asks the question that necessitates an answer that has not yet been asked. And we see this, right? We see this with just genetic mutation, right? We see this with the ebb and flow within the environment where there are certain animals that no longer exist anymore because the environment asked a question that particular animal could not answer.
right? And then new animals arise because the environment's asking a question that needed an answer that particular body could answer. And so
I would grant you micro.
Bacteria, what the bacteria situation isn't just because it's so many generations, that doesn't equivocate to actual like environmental time, right? How much time does that bacteria need? It's not a generational thing. How much time does that bacteria need, and how many opportunities is that bacteria afforded to answer a question that's never been asked with an answer that's never been seen?
Right. So I would grant you microevolution. I agree with micro, but micro is not going to get you macro. And if you say that it does, then I'm going to need to see some evidence for that outside of speculation or inference.
So the existence of the atoms and periodic table, the way we see it, allows for a finite number of answers to ever be accumulated. I mean, you would have to agree with that, right?
I don't know where you're going, but okay. I mean, it wouldn't be finite, but it would be an astronomical number.
Yeah, but it would have a number, right? Because you're not going to be able to exceed an input that doesn't exist you're not going to get an output that doesn't exist from the input.
Yeah, it would be finite, not infinite. Yeah, I apologize. You're right.
Yeah. So in that situation where we're having this conversation, I think your position is because there is finite output and finite input, God.
I think your position would be, because I think your position would be just as faith as my position. We can't test or observe it, so therefore long ago and far away. And the deity in your belief system would be time. Oh, we can't test and observe it, just sprinkle some time on it and that fixes our problem.
No, it's not time. So I think the difference between my position and your position is it feels like the way you structure your questions allow for anything that is predetermined, like the number of elements on the periodic table, like the interaction between protons, neutrons, and electrons, qualifies as the existence of God. And I'm saying that is valid. It does not qualify that the God of the Bible has any validity to that statement. So you can't connect those two things. So
right.
yes,
We're really jumping around here. We went from evolution to now the way that protons and neutrons interact with each other. So therefore, right. So therefore, God, I unless you've heard me before, I haven't made that claim here today. So
well, you've got a Bible up, and I have spoken to you before.
Okay, fair enough. Well, then, if you have spoken to me, then that would be a fair assessment if you've spoken to me before. But I would concede there's no doubt. If I think there's a dichotomy, it's either evolution or it's God, and then if God, then what deity?
Okay, so then my question would be for you: if God, why God of the Bible?
Right, and then I would go into textual criticism and show you why I would go with the God of the Bible over the other different deities.
Okay, and then I would ask you, if God of the Bible is the supreme finite data of input, how come the outputs 2 + 2, 1 + 1 aren't found individually isolated all over the world? Like when the Europeans discovered the Americas, there was no God of the Bible. These finite, quantifiable outputs already existing in this other region.
That wouldn't be a question that you could possibly ask me. That would be a question for the deity. If the deity did it this way, then why did you do it that way? The question would have to be posed to the deity, not to the person worshiping the deity.
Okay, so then the answer that I feel like you're giving me is you're not qualified to validate your position based on the God of the Bible.
No, I'm qualified to validate my position. I'm not qualified to validate his position. And you're asking me to qualify his position as to why he did something. You're going to have to ask him, because I can't answer for him is not the same as me not being able to validate my position. You got that backwards, brother. I'm validating mine, not his.
Why would you defend him without proper validation? You can't ask him. You can't get his answer, yet you are here to defend him.
Yeah, I believe in God. I think that there's more than enough evidence for it, but I couldn't possibly answer why he did something for the most part.
So
I mean, if you want to ask me something,
evolution's position.
I got you. Hold on. If you want to ask me something specific, I might be able to answer. But if it's just a broad overview and question, it's going to be hard. So if you have something you'd like to narrow down as to why I think God did A, B, C, or D, then I'll try to give you the best educated answer I can. But if it's just a theological, larger than life question, then I can't really do that.
Okay. Why didn't
Just a
Jesus?
clarifying question real quick,
Sure.
Sure.
just to go along with it. Host, you had talked about an experiment of bacteria. Do you remember the name of it?
The Linsky experiment.
Okay. Once Ankh is done, I'd like to go next. I've got a little bit more information on that. I'm currently reading it.
Sure.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, I was reading a little bit too, but it's a daunting paper if you're going to read all of it. However, the simple question I would have is if the position of God of the Bible, how come Jesus Christ didn't heal the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Incas?
Yeah, he wasn't over there. It's a good question. That's something I don't have the answer for. I know that when Jesus was on the planet, he healed whoever, basically asked him. But yeah, I don't know.
Yep. And I guess that's where I feel like the Bible falls apart, because it's such a regional, colloquial text, and we have to remember that no word we have ever said or written down has meaning without us giving it to it, and so therefore everything that comes out of that book is open for interpretation. Now, what we can find uniformly without us or with us is the construct of the physics and of the material of the universe.
Let me address your just so when I say I don't know, there's not, and that's a good question, because I don't know why God doesn't heal some people and he chooses to heal some other people. But if we're going off, why didn't I'm sure that those Christians I could find evidence of Christians in those nations that have claimed miraculous healing from Jesus. Could I not?
I'm sorry, it cut out on my end a little bit. Would you say that again?
Yeah, so I understand. I don't know why God chooses to heal some people and he didn't. Obviously, when he was, in his human form here on the earth, and obviously he healed whoever come up to him and ask him, basically. But that would still just be like anecdotal, because I'm sure I could look on the internet and find people from different nations and countries that are claiming that Jesus has healed them, right?
Yeah, sure. And those claims would be extraordinary and often have credential if they existed prior to 1492 in regions that were isolated and from
but then that would
Christian text.
Yeah, that would be claiming that how do we not know that when some of these other, and I'm just asking because I actually don't know the answer to this question, but how do we not know that some of those individuals, if they ever did claim miraculous healing, was from Jesus, just known by a different name?
Sure. Now, this is an interesting text, because if you say that, then we would fall back to the text and recognize that Jesus, the story of Jesus, is no longer a unique individual text from the Bible, and that other deities can be found similar to Jesus in other religious texts all over the world.
Well,
that would take away from the uniqueness of Jesus Christ in the Holy Text.
No, it would have to. It would have to. It would have to conform with the story of Jesus, obviously, or you wouldn't claim it. That was just an interesting thought process, but it's well within my cognitive ability to say that Jesus could have healed somebody in the Aztec community, and they knew him by a different name, but then they still chose to worship all of these different deities. So people were healed by Jesus and still rejected him, I'm sure.
So that then we come back to a problem of contradiction. Why would God continue to make things so unclear, yet tell a small select group of people about Jesus's abilities?
I see. That's where you kind of go into the not understanding what the biblical teachings are, to say that he wouldn't have, because some of the individuals got it while they're here on the planet, and the other ones got it in paradise. It's called Abraham's bosom. So everyone gets preached the gospel according to the Bible.
So again, what we're doing here is we're saying that we can see a uniform process of information that we could say is the intelligent design of the universe. We see a uniform process of information through what you're calling these macro evolutions, that it existed the ability already inside of that device to answer the question asked through its change, right? I've heard you make this before. And we see this uniformity no matter where we go in the world, except we don't see Jesus Christ uniform wherever we go in the world. Now we're creating special conditions to validate a text that's only colloquial and regional, right, prior to its spread.
Well, I'm
And
not.
So you've got a contradictory things. You're asking us.
Now
to
the problem
uniform.
The problem that I got.
But you're not willing to put that scrutiny back to why we don't see uniform
Right.
information.
The
throughout
problem.
religious text.
The problem that I got is your wording. The way that you word things is like this local thing. Well, that's not what it says. Just because it was created locally doesn't mean that it was only for the local. Right? Just like when the Bible says that there was a worldwide flood, and some people say, well, that's local. No, the Bible says worldwide. So that was over the world. And just because this book wrote about a story of Abraham's bosom and it was local when they wrote it, doesn't mean that it doesn't apply to everyone on the planet. So I don't understand that's just because it was written locally doesn't mean that it doesn't apply. It only applies locally.
What I am saying is that you tend to take the position that there is a uniform thread of intelligence that we can see, right, existing in all life. And that's what allows for our evolution, our microevolutions.
Sure.
And I'm saying if that's a true core belief of how you see the Creator influencing all life forms of all types all over the entirety of the planet, why do you not apply that scrutiny to why his word, the most powerful thing ever delivered to mankind, is not uniform in the same fashion with no contradictions or discrepancies?
Like what? Do you have any of the contradictions or discrepancies? Any pantheon of gods that exist that don't have a similar structure to God the Father and the Trinity already are contradictory. See, that goes back to the argument of God didn't do it the way that I would do it, so therefore he's not God.
No, that goes to you're saying that uniformity and intelligent design has a potential outcome consistently, and I'm saying that you need to apply that same level of scrutiny to your own religious text throughout the world. I do apply my own, but just because somebody else doesn't believe it doesn't mean that it's not true. Just because somebody believes that there was a Zeus when there wasn't a Zeus and there was a Jesus, it doesn't mean that it's not true and that I wouldn't apply it uniformly. So your belief that there should be information gained and you don't like the definitions or the examples does not make it true, correct? No, that's something that would have to be true. I mean, brother, look, you can laugh, but I'm not the one that's not understanding it. If I claimed that I'm not, unless you want to claim that evolution is now supernatural, right? If we're talking about supernatural things like a deity, then you got some leeway with supernatural things. What you don't have is a. Never said supernatural. Okay, so then you would have. So we would agree that if we went from a single-celled organism, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so let me phrase it as a question. If we went from a single-celled organism to a fully functional human, there had to be information gained there, correctly? Sure. So you agree? Okay, thanks. So remember, let's go back to the beginning of my statement. The possibility of finite outcomes with a finite number of inputs is God, and that was my stance. And you agreed that was also a similar stance that you. I get it, brother, but I want you to just notice what happened in the last 10 seconds, right? So when I claim that there has to be information gained, you laughed at me, and because I said there has to be information gained, you laughed at me, and then you went 5 seconds later to agree with me that there has to be information gained. Yeah. So all I'm doing is agreeing with that there is a context to the idea that there is some sort of underlying intelligence baked into the universe. I got it, brother. Listen, is that you can find that same level of baked-in intelligence from the Holy Christian text. That's my argument. Okay. Do you have? You're not applying. You're qualifying your religious text against. I'm giving you specific examples about single-celled organisms going to fully functional humans, and you're using more. You probably need to talk to a more theological guy, because it sounds like you're more theologian. That's not an insult. That's great. No, that's a show of intelligence. I don't usually do the theological stuff. So if you have an example that you would like to go over, like I've asked for, then I can address that specific example maybe, or at least I'll try. But this overarching view of whatever, it's not really my thing, man. I've enjoyed our conversation. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think we're really kind of going anywhere. So if you have something specific you'd like to talk about, I'm with you. I would specifically say that when you look at your statement and you look at how you should argue this statement will remain in debate because the divide will come over the definitions of the words and how we would like to apply them. And that becomes a man-made problem because words in themselves do not have any meaning without us giving to them. And so your question is going back to exactly what these guys said, is you've got it structured in a way where it's nearly impossible to answer because of the definitions you allow to be used in it.
But it's not.
And that's my position.
Right, I got you. But it's not impossible to answer because your belief system, if you believe in evolution, and I don't put words in your mouth, says that it happens. So it wouldn't. It literally says that it happens. So then me requiring evidence for it is not an impossible thing for it. And to the individual with the comments that says, "I don't do the theism stuff. The flood was real," and a smiley face. That's physical. That's not theological, Einstein. That's not the flood would be physical. That's not theological. I don't think your smiley face thing there helped you out any. It just showed that you're very, very unintelligent. I don't do the theism stuff. The flood was real. Haha. The flood would be physical, not theological. For the love of everything holy.
So new information, new gene sequences are information gain. Now, what you're saying is that you're fine with that on a micro level.
I wouldn't.
You need to see it.
I would not define that as information gain. It depends on what you just said. It like new gene sequences. Right. If you took existing information and duplicated it, that's not new information. That's duplicated existing information.
But do you understand what you said? You would not define that, what I said, as that.
Yeah. The reason.
So there's the contradiction. It is in evolutionary science. That is a part of the definition of information gain.
Of course,
is the creation of new gene sequences.
Of course it is.
And new genes. Right?
Of course it is. And
so your definitions allow you to hold your position and making the question impossible to answer.
No, it's not, brother. The reason why I say it like that is because when I talk to evolutionists, this is one of the biggest problems that I have is they want to get stuck on, and definitions mean things. So I don't think we shouldn't. This is why I define it very clearly at the very beginning. Every time I talk about it, I make a very clear definition. And the reason why is because evolution has the evolutionists. They have this magic thing to where they can just change definitions to get wins. But if I was to agree that evolution just means change over time, okay, I agree with that. The definition is change over time, which is what evolution used to mean. Therefore, we come from single-celled organisms. No, that's not true. Wait a minute. You already conceded that evolution is change over time. So because you've already conceded that that's evolution, so therefore this is part of evolution. So we have to have different definitions, right?
If your shit is on auto accept and you're dropping people.
Yeah, brother, I don't mind. Don't come up here. I know. I have auto accept because I like people to come up and talk. All right, let me block you. Let me block you.
Yeah, you gotta block.
I'm blocking.
Takes the time.
Yeah. So I have it on auto because I like people to come up and have conversations with me. So anyway, if we just try to say that we're going to win on definitionally, therefore evolution means change over time, I win, we all come from single-celled organisms. That's not how that works. Guys, stop unmuting yourself. You got a lot of background noise. I'm going to have to kick you. I don't want to do that. All right, let me do it. So you see, that's why we got to be clear about what we're requiring. So if they're just going to say information gain is duplicated information, then we win. It's not information gain. It's duplicated information. That's why I clarify it.
And again, your position. Well, yeah, I'm going to finalize because I've got to go pull the siding off of a building here real quick. I'm just a nobody blue collar worker. I'm a high school dropout, but I will say that we can't have a conversation of any meaning to communicate the thoughts inside of our minds without definitions. And if we conflate those definitions, then there is no way to agree.
I would
agree with that. Go back to a position where if you don't, you said this, you would not define something as this thing as offered as the definition. Therefore, you will always be in a position of disagreement with the offered definitions for the question you're asking. It's an infinite loop.
That's my point. Hold on one second. I know he's got to hold on one second. He said he's got to go, so I want to respond to this, and then we'll break free. I do appreciate that, and everyone listening in the comments, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is it personicide. You can't win with the evidence, so then you got to go with the definitional change, so that you can't show me evolution. You need time. That doesn't work. You believe it long ago and far away. So when you can't win with the evidence, you go to a definition so that you can say that you won later. And this is one of the things that I constantly predict with evolutionists. If you can't show me the evidence, then you're going to try to win with a definition.
If you don't like the evidence fitting the definition and you change the definition for yourself, it's the same situation. We're in a loop. I'm not saying that I'm.
No, it's not though.
By the definition.
But it's not. I need if you just
According to you, it's
if
not.
we don't, it's not.
It is.
That's why I give it to you very clearly, because at first I know we're not going to agree on definitions, because you're going to hold degradation. I'm not saying you personally, but evolutionists are going to hold degradation and claim that that's evolution. I don't care how much they say that it is. You still can't. That's logically not possible. You can't say that we started off as a single-celled organism and lost all of our information, and that's how we got here today. It's not logically possible. So therefore, I'm telling you, degradation could not possibly count as evidence for evolution. It couldn't. If we're being theologically consistent, it could not. So just because you want to say that it does, that's not my problem. No disrespect. I have to show you that that could not possibly be. So that's why I'm very clear at first in saying that we have to agree that this is, if you can't show me degradation and then claim that that's evolution. You can't. That's not logical.
And that is so. That is 100%. That is so for you.
So yeah, I mean, could you possibly give me an example of losing information and then claim that that's how we all got here?
Well, yeah, I have to get down, but all I'm saying is, if that is so for you, then so be it.
It's not just so for me. It's just, that's what I'm trying to show y'all, that y'all's definition of evolution is not consistent. That's my point, is I'm showing you that you can't just say change over time and then think you're going to get a win on evolution, because the examples that you're going, I know, I got you. I'm not you personally, but
literally pointing out that this is not a unique debate that you hold a position on. It's a well-documented debate among theologists and evolutionists, and even from evolutionists to evolutionists, what is the primary factors?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that since your definition has a very fenced position, we will always be in an infinite loop of trying to provide something that you agree with.
Yeah, and I say,
the only authority in this conversation, you, and if you're the final authority and the only authority, then there is no winner that you don't declare the winner. And since you're the one in the competition, you are going to declare yourself the winner. I agree with that. That works.
Right. And well, I would say the exact opposite. I would say the exact same thing for you guys. If you're just going to keep declaring a logical fallacy in an effort that's legitimately physically impossible to happen, and then claim that that's evolution, then you're going to have the same thing.
I declare myself the winner in this conversation?
No. I'm not. I didn't say you as in general. I took it what you said when you were talking to me, not like me. It's not just my definition, right? Genetic information gain is not just a me thing, right? Okay. So when I say you, I mean you evolutionist. I'm not saying you do, but if you have a definition that allows degradation and then claim that that's information gain, that's literally logically infallible. You cannot have that. It's physically impossible. These two things diametrically oppose each other, but you want to keep that definition in an effort to get a win. So then I would say the same thing, that you're going to be the winner in that conversation if that's your definition.
So here's what's going to happen, right? Because I respect your position, I'm actually going to give it some thought, and I'm going to see if there's a logical way to apply evolution and degradation the way you're saying. And if I can come up with a good argument for it, I'll come back and then we'll see if you have anything to say about that. However, sure. I'm not disagreeing that there is a thread that appears to be intelligent design. Remember, my only disagreement is that thread of intelligent design does not give authority to any religious text, especially the Bible. That's my position.
Right. I would agree that intelligent design doesn't point towards a specific religion. I would agree with it.
All right. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you, man. You too. All right, Blue, you said I'm going back to you because you started off the conversation. So go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to come back to that experiment, and the conclusion by those scientists that conduct the Lenski experiment is opposite of what you're.
Yeah, they're gonna claim it's evolution.
Degradation, it's gain of information directly.
Yeah.
But there's another experiment that has been going since the 1930s, right? When we created the synthetic material nylon. You ever heard of this one?
Yeah, but I want to stick to the Lenski one so we don't run around too much. I understand that the Lenski guys. I understand that they're claiming that, but we have to look into see what about it. Does it make it information gain because they're claiming it, or is there actual information gain there? So what happened was they put glucose and citrate. The nylon one I'm not as familiar with. I would have to study that one, to be honest with you. I've heard of it, but I really haven't studied that as much as I have this Lenski one. So the Lenski one, they put the bacteria inside of a flask. They feed it. They noticed that one day that it switched from eating glucose and started eating citrate. So they said that's a new function. Therefore, evolution is true. A new function, therefore, they deduced that is information gain. It started doing something that it wasn't doing before. Unfortunately, when you actually read the papers or you understand what they're talking about, most of the time they just outright lie about what the bacteria is doing. And then that's what people hear. So you'll hear them constantly claim that it started eating a new food source. And in this specific case, that's not true at all. The bacteria already had the ability to digest citrate. It just didn't do it in oxygen. So the bacteria in the Lenski experiment they have transfer proteins, and the transfer proteins allow in glucose when there's oxygen present. And when there's no oxygen present, it changes the transfer protein shape and allows in citrate. So the wild bacteria that they use, the E. coli bacteria, already had the ability to eat glucose, already had the ability to eat citrate in two different environments, and it had a flagellum, the tail that helps it swim around. These new evolved, if you will, bacteria lost the ability. The transfer proteins changed. It still has the ability to eat glucose, but it does it at a degradation because of all of the other bacteria that are there are superior, and they eat up all of the glucose without them being able to get to it. So they lost that ability. Their flagellum is devolving. It's losing because they don't have to swim to get its food as much anymore. They're basically spoon feeding it. Its flagellum is starting to devolve. So it does have the ability to eat citrate in oxygen and unoxygenated environments. So I ask you again, which one's evolving? The one that's in the Lenski experiment or the wild one? So it is true to say that it started eating citrate in an oxygenated environment, but it's not true to call that a new function, if you will, because it already had the ability to eat citrate, and it did it through degradation, not information gain. The mechanism that changes the transfer proteins devolved.
Okay, so I think we're going to go back and forth with this because of your understanding of those items. So I don't want to exhaust that too much. The reason I mentioned the second one is because it directly refutes exactly what you're talking about. Something that was man-made, never created before. Bacteria was able to adapt, gain new information, and be able to consume or eat nylon waste.
What was the name of that experiment? I forgot that one.
It was a nylon eating bacteria. Let me find the direct study. I know the first one was Michigan State. What was this one? I think they just call it nylon eating bacteria. I don't think it has a direct name. The bacteria was a Flavobacterium living in ponds in your nylon waste. I don't have a direct study, or I don't have it in front of me.
I got you.
I'll just send you the link in chat afterwards.
All right, so
started in the 1930s when we
I got you. Yeah. So because I don't usually like to do the Google thing because I know it's not an authority or anything like that, but because I'm not familiar with this story too much, so I just typed in this bacteria eating nylon. Did it gain this ability through evolution or degradation? And it says, well, of course it says it is evolution, but it says it's evolution through degradation. So the nylon eating bacteria, such as, and I'm not going to try to say that name, produced enzymes that break down the nylon, produce similar how the ability is linked and appeared. So I can continue to read that, but it is also stating that it's doing this through degradation, which is a prediction that I would make if it's actually doing that. I would look at the information on this study and do more. I don't want to like just do Google, but because Google's not the authority, and I don't want to look silly if I'm completely wrong by trying to go off a Google search. But I did think it is funny because that's one of the things that I predict automatically right off the bat is that if I do see this new trait, it's probably going to do it through degradation. And that's exactly what it's claiming here, is that it is doing it through degradation. Although I'll have to look at the specifics as to why.
Yeah, and we do understand that there's not complete degradation. It's information gained and information that can be tapped at any time. This is observed through bacteria that can consume radiation or thrives in radiated environments similar to early Earth as opposed to current Earth that has a lower radiation. This is something that was observed in places that had nuclear incidents or nuclear accidents, such as Chernobyl, where they've been able to take that and are now trying to figure out how to use that bacteria in space to try to eat the radiation or consume the radiation instead of transferring it through to the astronauts. So again, that information is still there. It's not a degradation, it's an adaptation. But I do understand your point on that. That's all I wanted to go over. I'm going to respectfully drop down. Thank you for the conversation.
Yeah.
My kids want to go play some video games. So.
I got you, man. I appreciate you coming up. So the only thing I would respond to Blue there, he had to leave, so I don't want to like not respond to him. But I would say that that's not information gain. That's existing information again that already existed, and that this ability to the ability to digest nitrate or nylon, come from degradation. So I would have to look more into it to give an educated answer on it, but that's what I'm seeing on the internet.
This is funny. This is really funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious. All right, so guys, I do have to leave in about 1 o'clock, so I don't want to leave. If anybody else comes up here, guys, I'm probably going to not engage anyone else. So if you're already up here, I'm going to talk to you, but I don't want to be rude and not be able to talk to the guest that's already come up here. So if anyone else comes up, I'm probably going to cut it off because I'm not going to answer anything that they have within reason because I'm going to have to get off here pretty soon. So
Hey, host.
What's up, brother?
Hey, host.
What's up?
Hey, you doing all right?
Doing good. Hope you are.
Fantastic, man. Hey, I just had a quick question. I know you mentioned that you're about to leave, so I was hoping. I was just wondering, what would be your explanation for the genetic diversity that exists on this planet?
Sure.
If not evolution.
Well, I believe in microevolution, so I should say that out of the bat. I don't have enough room to put everything I believe up here, so it just kind of gets the conversation started, so I can tell people more about what I believe in microevolution. So I believe that God wrote within our genetic information the ability for us to adapt to our surroundings, but there's always limits in that.
I have a question.
Hold on, brother. I get you. I'll let you in, but let me.
Wait. Let me just add something to you. So, if you live a lifestyle that diminishes your bodily anatomy, do you think if this world was created that the Creator would put something in place for him to fix his bodily anatomy, regardless of where you stand spiritually?
I don't understand. Hold on, King. I don't understand the question, brother. Why would he put anything in here to fix his body? It's his. There's nothing wrong with his bodily anatomy. He's God.
Well, I was hoping that you could answer my question.
Yeah. Let me. I thought your question, your dad. I thought your question was going to be along with Jay. So I'm going to go back to Jay because your question had nothing to do with his. So go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out what your explanation is for the genetic diversity on this planet.
Well, that's what
if not evolution.
Well, again, if we have to be specific with our terms, I believe in micro.
So you said microevolution, right? So you like microevolution.
Yeah, I believe in micro, but not macro. So I think that God wrote.
Yeah, so I was wondering if you could provide a better alternative with what like evidence and information that something better than what the scientific community tells us, and I was hoping you can maybe provide some information.
Like what? Like
to
what?
the contrary.
Your dad. Stop. I don't want to kick you. I want to get to you, man. But every time you say something, it's actually not on the topic. So please just chill. So provide. You want me to provide information for what? Why would I provide information for something I don't believe in? I don't believe in macro. So how could I provide evidence for it?
So you're making a claim about evolution is false, and then I guess that claim is kind of not the full story, because you also claim that microevolution, like you do believe that there is evidence to support microevolution, right?
Sure.
So I'm wondering what the contrary claim is, because there's a ton of genetic diversity on this particular planet. We all agree, right?
Yeah. Do you know the difference? Let me make sure that you know the difference before. You know the difference between micro and macro.
I don't think that there is a difference between micro and
macroevolution.
The difference between micro and macroevolution is just time. So
okay.
What I'm trying to figure out.
I got you, brother.
I want to stick to my question.
I got you. Well, listen, Jay, I appreciate your time. Okay. Thank you for asking me the question. But if you don't understand the difference, then we're just going to be talking in circles. And I've been doing that for a while. So I appreciate your time. But if you don't understand the difference, there's nothing we can do. I know.
I can grant you.
I got you. Go learn the differences between micro and macro and come back. We can have a conversation. I wanted to ask a clarifying. Hold on, guys. I wanted to ask a clarifying question to see if you could understand. But if you think they're the same, I would have to explain macro and micro to you and then try to explain why they're different. I don't have time for that, brother. I'm sorry. Please come back up again later after you've looked up what micro and macro are. Okay. Look those up and then we can have a conversation. So
can I ask you a question, bro?
Yeah. But
if there's a macro, do you know what duality is? Because one thing don't exist without the other.
Yeah, okay. But micro exists and there is no macro, so it wouldn't be.
Okay, what is the duality of micro?
What do you mean?
It's always the opposite: up, down, left, right, hot, cold. What's the duality of micro? What? What's the duality of it, brother?
There's not one. What do you mean?
He means like the opposite.
Okay, then the opposite of microevolution would be not microevolution.
No, one's fantasy, one's reality.
One would if you're just saying microevolution is change, then the opposite of change would be staying the same. That would be the opposite of change.
Subatomic, wouldn't it? You have to understand it's subatomic.
All right, guys, just don't be weird. Let's ask normal, reasonable questions that can have an answer. I just had great conversations with people. Please don't digress into this.
The answer to it is the fact that they forced evolution on us in school and all stuff, never having any evidence of it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And throughout 20, 30, 40, 50 years, forcing it down people's throats. That's why everybody just thinks that evolution is there.
Yeah. What's the opposite of change? Well, the opposite of change would be staying the same. So that.
No, the opposite of change is acceptance.
All right, your dad. What do you got? You got something a question I can answer before I roll out of here, brother? Okay.
And before you roll out, I want to point something out to you guys. Look at the picture here in the background. He has a woman evolution book, right? And he got snakes and everything, serpents on that book. What does that tell you? Just think for 1 second. Evolution is natural. It's supposed to happen natural, but you got another. Look at the book, like a snake representing like something that's tampering with evolution. Humankind want to tamper with evolution, hope evolution. Medical science, all this miracles, whatever. But that is all these medications, all these drugs, everything is halting our evolution. It's not evolving it. It's halting it. It's stopping our growth. And that's the fact. That's the reality.
All right, King. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming up today. All right, brother. The game. What's up, man?
Yeah, I was just making a statement that evolution has been forced down our throats since, 50, 60, 70 years or whatnot. And there's never been any proof of any type of evolution whatsoever. Just them jamming it down our throats through school, making us learn this stuff and never ever actually showing any evidence of it whatsoever.
Yeah.
To actually discount God himself. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man, I appreciate it. It's just, I talk to so many evolutionists all the time, for the most part, that sometimes you can get lost in the sauce, and it's good to hear people that agree sometimes, because, man, dealing with these guys is very frustrating sometimes.
I like the fact you use that. I use it all the time. You get lost in the sauce and you don't know the facts.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is most people don't know the facts, and they're taught to only understand or know one thing, and that's what they want you to know, not for what you should know. So that's the difference between evolutionists and reality.
Yeah. Well, they believe something that has no, I mean, they don't demand any proof or any evidence for the most part, is what I've seen. It's just,
It has no value.
yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, you don't have to have any evidence for this. You're just going to believe it. Somebody told you that long ago and far away this happened.
But why do you believe whatever you believe?
What does that mean?
Well, the difference is the Bible shows the proof of everything, and at the end of the day, at least it shows proof.
Yeah.
If you're willing to read it and listen and learn it. And the other stuff is man just telling you this without showing you any proof whatsoever.
Yeah.
If you want to get biblical, even if you read the Bible, if you want to get biblical, it says he created the earth with natural herbs that we can feed off to evolve.
No, brother, that's not King. That's not what it says at all.
David Sapid.
What'd you say, brother? I'm sorry.
David Sapid.
I don't know what that is.
David Sapid. That's the white devil.
What?
The white devil.
What does that have to do with my conversation, brother? Don't be weird.
Because I'm real. That's what it has to do with that shit.
All right. Have a good one, man.
Are you stupid?
Yeah, evidently I am.
That's crazy.
That guy had no common sense.
Yeah, man, that's what I usually get up here. There's a bunch of crazy people for 20, 30 minutes. All right, guys. Well, listen, I appreciate the conversation. If you don't have anything else, man, I'm going to roll out.
Before you leave, I want to say congratulations to you. You're a good man.
Thank you,
You
man.
based everything on facts. You stood there like a champ against many, and you held your ground, and you spoke facts, and I really appreciate you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Have a good day.
All right, game. Y'all be good. Guys, give me a like and a follow. Even if you like to argue with me and hate my guts, give me a follow. Next time you come up, we can argue about it. All right, guys. I'll holler at y'all later.